Hello everyone, welcome to What If Naruto Was Descendant of First Zenin in JJK and made Mega Harem Part 1. Before we start, please go support Franklin Jr. LeBron for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Naruto is a male. Here Naruto is a Zenin, and also the vessel of the first Zenin in the history of sorcery. This Naruto is very peculiar. Chapter 1. The story begins on a rocky, desolate road. On this desolate road, a blonde boy, approximately 9 years old, could be seen with dull blonde hair, dark blue eyes, and thin clothing. He wore a dark blue t-shirt and pants, and his shoes of the same color, a kind of uniform. This young man was Naruto, a Zenin of an astonishing 17 years old. This young man was heading in the direction of killing a curse or cursed spirit, since he is a sorcerer or shaman, and is occupied with exterminating cursed spirits that are born from the negative feelings of normal humans who create them by not controlling their cursed energy. The young man continued on his quiet way, until the road led him to his destination, which was a completely destroyed village, and where at first glance, piles of corpses could be seen everywhere the eye went. Naruto. He only appeared 76 minutes ago. How did he destroy all of this in such a short time? These were the thoughts of the Zenin, who seemed surprised, not by the destruction, but by the short time it took to destroy all of this. "I'm sure it's a special or semi-special level," he said, walking toward the ruined entrance to the devastated village. From inside, the view was worse. Dead villagers lay everywhere, and the bodies of children, the elderly, and women were mutilated and scattered like garbage in full view of the boy, who didn't seem to care. "Don't even think about hiding, damn it. There's a curtain more than 3 kilometers away from this village. You won't escape even if I let you." With those words, a creature emerged from behind a house. The creature was humanoid, light gray in color, with red markings all over its chest, back, and face. The creature had no face other than its mouth, and the only clothing it had were pants the same color as Naruto's. "So you were the one responsible for this. Tell me, do you know how to speak?" His response was a grunt. "Well, that tells me you're not from the curse group Gojo warned me about," he said calmly, as a crimson, demonic-looking sword emerged from his shadow. The boy took the sword in his hand to look at the creature, which was very still until a kind of camera viewfinder emerged from the eye symbol drawn on its face. The camera viewfinder flashed, letting it know it had taken a picture. This confused the blonde greatly, who tilted his head in extreme confusion, but it only made his body stiffen, causing his nose to bleed, as well as his ears and a little from his eyes. The boy fell to the ground in pain, but that only made things worse as blood came out of his mouth and a great pain ran through his chest. "Is this his innate curse technique?" he thought in pain as he stood up. "How the hell did all that happen to me? He just took a picture of me," he thought, and at that moment he clicked. "His cursed technique hurts me when he takes a picture of me for some reason." He put it aside when he saw that the creature was going to do it again, but luckily he managed to avoid it, or so he thought when the photo was taken, and as he took his next step the pain and bleeding returned, causing him to fall. The curse smiled as it had the sorcerer on its feet. As it raised its foot to stomp on him, it couldn't react to the orange tail that dug into its stomach and pulled it away from the blonde, who, having recovered, stood up without any of the wounds inflicted on his body. "Thank you, Kurama," he said to an orange fox with 9 fluffy tails and ears similar to those of rabbits. Its height was 90 centimeters from its head to its rear and 35 from its head to its front legs, each of its tails being over 50 centimeters long. This fox was Kurama, a shikigami, or lesser known as artificial cursed spirits created by the sorcerers themselves by manipulating the bad feelings of the cursed energy. "The fact that I take the damage while you just watch seems unfair," he said to the fox, who only smiled. "Yes, mock me. But after feeling like my entire body wasn't where it should be and the universe itself was trying to move every cell in my body to a specific place, I decided to change the strategy to just kill each other. No more analysis. One of these days I'll die trying to analyze a technique for him," he said tiredly. The fox merely nuzzled his hands in response. "That's a yes," he said as he stood up, and the fox disappeared into shadows as the regenerated curse stopped again. "Good. Let's get this over with. Innate curse technique. Entry into enlightenment, 1,000 hands of death. With that, a spectral Buddhist figure appeared. The spectral figure was a semi-transparent golden color, sitting atop an equally golden flower. It also had both eyes closed, contrasting sharply with its two palms held in prayer. Most striking were its colossal 10 meters and the 1,000 hands behind the Buddhist figure, which gave it the air of a sage. Let's see how long you can hold up with this technique, he said, creating a hand position, and with that, one of the specter's hands launched itself at the curse, which dodged by moving to the right. However, it couldn't handle the second blow, nor the third, nor the hundreds more that crushed the curse without any difficulty, beginning a sequence of blows that crushed the creature more and more. After a moment, the blows stopped, and one of the hands took hold of the curse, which was surprisingly conscious, and made a finger seal that impressed Naruto. Creature, domain expansion, cursed photo prison. Naruto was surprised by the words of the creature that for him could not speak, but he stopped talking and did not move because he could already tell that it would do the domain of this curse. The domain was of dark barrier as always, but the ground was red and a giant ancient chamber was in front of him with the curse above. The safe hit makes every frame be about me even when it's not angled. That means I shouldn't move until I grab it. He couldn't finish his words because the curse hit him in the face, sending him flying with the added pain of moving. It hurts like a hitch. It's like they're trying to divide me by cell phone and direct one to each place I've been, he thought, lying on the ground while the giant camera took photos, although there was something he noticed. It was 24 FPS, plus a 2-second interval to follow the sequence of photos. That should give me a break, he thought as he raised his arms in the 2 free seconds, and before reaching the third he spoke. Naruto, domain expansion, golden fists of the Buddhist divinity. With that, half of the expansion changed and a completely golden place could be seen. In one part was the curse with its gigantic camera and on the other Naruto with his Buddhist, but this time it was physical and it was bigger, it could even measure 5 meters. Both expansions fought for dominance, neither fading, until finally, the curse's expansion began to fall, and the blonde smiled. My demon is superior, I win, curse. With those words, the gigantic fists, over 10 meters long, fell upon the curse and crushed it, delivering the final blows that finished it off. With his victory, the blonde deactivated his domain and saw the curse lying on the ground, just waiting to be exorcised. Good. Die. The young man approached the curse, and as he was about to exorcise it, a sort of golden pole entered his nose and many flowers grew around it, confusing the boy. What was I doing? I was actually looking at the beautiful scenery. Hee 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 hee. Ha ha. With that, the boy began to run like a retard and smell flowers, until a sudden movement brought him out of his daydream, causing him to see a large figure take the curse and run away, climbing up a branch. Naruto, are you serious? My first mission since I got back from vacation, and the curse escaped with possible hair straightening. The higher-ups will stop being boring old men and become shouty old men, he said, but something came to his head and with that he smiled. No one can yell at me for something that never happened, he said, rubbing his hands like crazy. I already exorcised the curse and my job is done. Time to go back to school. With that, an eagle-like creature appeared, created by shadows. Heedless of the village, the blond man climbed onto the giant Shikigami bird and flew off in the direction of his home, or perhaps his companions. Whichever comes first. Later, the blonde was seen entering some sort of morgue where there were 4 people. One was dead and looked about 16 or 17 years old, and the other 3 were adults. One was a gray-haired man wearing the same clothes as Naruto and a blindfold, the other had office clothes and a calm look, the last one was the nurse who was putting on gloves to prepare, and Acer was performing the autopsy next to the face of a person who hadn't slept for months. The first one with gray hair is Satoru Gojo, the second one is Kiyotaka Ijichi, the third one was Shoko Ilari, and the corpse was Yuji Itadori. Naruto-sensei. Really, every time I leave, you won't get any sleep, said the blonde, capturing everyone's attention except Satoru, who didn't look at him because he was thinking about something. Shoko, didn't you say you were in Ginza? The adult asked the blonde, who nodded. I got bored. Vacations aren't my thing, so I went to exorcise a curse that was said to have struck the area, he said, putting on gloves to assist in the autopsy of the young man he didn't know. Saturo. And what happened? Gojo asked with interest. Honestly, I'm escaping because of another possible curse. But before that, I kicked his ass with my entrance to enlightenment, 1,000 hands of death technique. Saturo thought for a moment. It's strange that a curse escaped from you. Tell me how that happened, Shoko asked, already holding the scalpel. I don't know what happened exactly, but I remember losing focus from the curse and starting to act like an idiot. Just like Saturo, he said, earning a hey from the white-haired man. So, how he died is dash. He didn't finish when he saw the hole in his chest. Wow. First time I've seen someone die from having their heart ripped out. And I've been doing this for almost 8 years, he said, amazed. He'd seen people split in half, in pieces, even half-eaten people or already eaten and digested. But one without a heart, judging by his hand. Either the boy ripped his own heart out, or someone controlled him. Shoko, leave that aside. Now we have to open his stomach, there's something important to recover. The woman turned around and saw Naruto, amazed and on guard, and her former corpse, sitting looking around in confusion. Where is this? I didn't ask to finish when Naruto kicked him against the wall, earning everyone's attention. What? He just revived, and you expect me to take it well? No one answered. And Saturo took Yuji from the wall and left. We'll talk later, Shoko, and you too, Ichichi, Gojo said, leaving with the naked body of the now alive Yuji, leaving Naruto who was giving him the finger of friendship. That idiot, the blonde said, annoyed at being ignored by the Gojo. Shoko, don't pay attention to him. You know he's just doing it to annoy you. But aside from that, did you have any trouble with the curse? The blonde shook his head. No. I didn't even have to increase my age. He only hurt me because I wanted to see something in his technique, nothing more, he said calmly. The doctor nodded. So, since you're back, will you participate in the Tokyo-Kyoto showdown? You know what I mean. Okatsu is abroad, and Segundo doesn't stand a chance. Even with Segundo, they'll be defeated by the Kyoto students, she said, leaving her gloves and mask behind to leave the morgue. Maybe so. Even if I'm late, I have something to do, and it'll take a while, he said, causing an electric blue glow to cover him and disappear from Shoko's sight, causing her to smile. I'm still amazed at how fast he's grown. Special category since he was 10. That's a record even for Saturo, the doctor thought, watching an electric blue light disappear in the distance. Later. I'm alone now. I speak to no one in particular. But at that moment, a sort of mouth and an eye popped out from under the blonde's left eye. Fine. For now, just analyze. The mouth spoke to the cheek. This mouth, or rather, the duel between the two voices, belonged to Ichigo Zenin. The first Zenin in history and the first person to have a cursed ritual. Chapter 2. A week later. Naruto could be seen walking through a very peaceful forest. From what he knew, this was where the confrontation between Tokyo and Kyoto was taking place, and judging by the time, they couldn't have been fighting for more than half an hour, so he still had time. But what the hell? His reaction is because he is literally seeing Yuji Itadori and an acquaintance named Aoi Tadua on top of almost dried branches and a curse with white skin and 2 branches where his eyes go was at the tip of these vines facing both sorcerers, and he was not having a good time. Naruto, should I help? I asked the heir. Nah. They're strong enough to deal with him. Ikizoka's mouth said on Naruto's cheek. Naruto was going to obey. But he saw the vines disappear and both Ivan boys fall, and the fall wasn't small at all. There would be puree in a few seconds. 10 shadow technique, wild creatures. Fenrir and Mekari triplets. Come, he said, and with that the bird from before appeared, but next to it, 3 more shadows appeared. These were tiny creatures about the size of a German shepherd dog, but even wider. Naruto, Makaris. Attack. Fenrir, catch them, he said, climbing onto the bird and flying at high speed to catch both young people before being impaled by 2 branches. You're welcome, said the blonde, holding Yuji, who was about to fall, and Aoi on the tail of the phoenix-like bird. Yuji, who are you? Asked the boy looking down. I'm the one who saved your ass, idiot. And I'm also the one who broke your face last week, but that doesn't matter, he said, throwing Itadori back, landing in the queue with Aoi. Don't worry, best friend. It's Naruto Zenin, a special rank sorcerer, and one of the strongest, he told the salmon-haired boy, who was surprised. That's impossible. He's only 8 years old. How could he be a wizard? They said in surprise as Naruto lowered both boys to the ground and Fenrir disappeared into the shadows. While that was happening, the curse was dealing with the 3 Shikigami, who, while not very large, were very fast and agile. They were blurs of shadows that struck the curse with wind attacks that erupted from their large jaws. Naruto, stay here. I'll take care of this, he said, making a finger seal. 10 shadow technique, wild creatures. Fuyuka, come! With that, a gigantic ice creature appeared. It was larger than a rhinoceros, measuring 2.1 meters tall and 1.9 meters long, with no eyes and only a gigantic jaw with dagger-sharp teeth. The little blonde boy climbed onto the wild beast and sped off, leaving a smiling Aoi and an astonished Yuji in their wake. Wait! He's a sorcerer with a special rank. He's about 8 years old. Aoi, his appearance is deceiving, best friend. He's almost our age, and he's been a special ranker since he was 10. It said he was even Saturo Gojo's classmate, Toda said, watching Naruto run off on his Shikigami. Is that possible? Someone with a special level since they were 10 years old. How is that possible? They even have a shadow technique like Megumi? He said, looking at Naruto in amazement. With the blonde. He was facing the seemingly special level curse. His triplet Makara's Shikigami were eliminated and clearly won't be able to be summoned for a few minutes, but he has over 35 shadows at his disposal. Losing a few for a while doesn't affect him. Naruto, innate curse technique. Fox Hunter. With that, the blonde reached out toward the curse, and the 2 branches on his eyes began to be pulled by a mysterious force. What's this? How do you do this? The curse said in a feminine voice that surprised the blonde a little. Naruto, me? But I'm not touching you, he said, smiling while giving a strong tug. The curse flew towards him and fell into the strong jaw of the icy creature, who began to bite it as if it were a toy. Ending the curse, the creature threw it as if it were an object, and to top it off, a frigid breath froze the curse. Hey! Be careful with the temperature. Japan is very cold these days, it said, dismounting its Shikigami and allowing it to disappear. Damn human! Naruto wasn't fazed by the scream. I'm not a cursed person. I'll tell on you to my Oni-chan, he said like a child as he stepped on the cursed person's head. She got upset about the mistreatment. I'm going to kill you! Naruto walked away from the scream as the entire forest dried absurdly fast, and with that the ice of the curse disappeared and she raised her hands in a seal that Naruto knew what it meant. No. You won't, he said, making a hand seal. Naruto/curse, domain expansion, JR-/dark. Both Naruto and the creature didn't finish their words. Why, at that moment the barrier that covered the entire Tokyo Metropolitan School fell and Naruto, who a few seconds ago was about to expand one of his domains against the curse, was now on the side of Aoi and Yuji, who wanted to get closer to attack the curse. Naruto, don't take another step or you'll die, he said, stopping Yuji, who got upset. If we leave him, he'll escape, he said angrily, but Aoi calmed him down. He won't. Gojo is about to attack him, and if you get close, you'll die with him, she said, and at that moment, a purple beam over 5 meters long covered the curse and seemingly destroyed it. Naruto. He always has to show off, he snorted, because that idiot Saturo was always arrogant. But even so, he smiled and jumped into the crater left by the last Gojo's attack. In the distance, Saturo could be seen smiling at him, and the blonde just gave him the finger of friendship. Later, when everyone was calm and recovered from all their fights from the previous day, the teachers of the Tokyo Metropolitan School. Here was also little Naruto, but with a person holding him on their lap as if he were a child. This was Naruto. I say we kill Gojo. And gouge his eyes out through his A. The blonde was interrupted by the blue-haired girl, who covered his mouth. Shut your mouth, she whispered softly, fearful of the stares of all the teachers from both schools of sorcery. May Naruto. We're not here to kill Gojo. Not yet, said the white-haired woman with two braids. One in the front and the other in the back, wearing a navy blue dress. This was May, a first-grade sorceress. Saturo, ignoring the baby. Why did they bring us here? He said, ignoring his partners. Not yet. The blonde man got angry at Gojo's baby talk. You suck, you idiot, the blonde man said angrily. Yoshinobu. This meeting is to say that yesterday's attack was a hoax. They didn't want anything to do with the students, said the long-bearded old man. This was Yoshinobu, headmaster of the Kyoto Metropolitan School of Sorcery. Naruto, so what was his real goal? Mazumichi. From what we realized, it was to steal Sukuna's fingers that were giving us our power, said Naruto's former master and headmaster of Tokyo Metropolitan School and first-grade sorcerer. Everyone became serious at that. Yudahime. That means they want something with Sukuna. What could that be? Asked the semi-first grade teacher and sorceress. Nothing good. Clearly, Gojo said thoughtfully. Naruto saw that the meeting wouldn't be interesting, so he spoke. Naruto, let's drop this. I'm bored and want something to do. So how about we go for part 2 of the Tokyo vs. Kyoto showdown? He said, giving the idea, and several people took it up. Naruto is right. We won't gain anything by thinking uselessly. We must continue with the event, said Principal Mazumichi. Gojo, okay. So which student will you choose this time? I vote for Megumi, he said happily. Naruto, no. I think Yuji should choose it, so I can participate, he said like a child clapping. Mazumichi, stop you too. Nobara Kujisaki will choose this time, he said, causing both almost children to fall. The next day. With that, Naruto called the Nobara girl. Upon arriving, he saw the girl as very beautiful. She had brown hair, fair skin, and short hair down to her neck. She was wearing a Tokyo Metropolitan School uniform, along with a short skirt and super long stockings. Her shoes were brown, and she was holding a hammer. Who called me? Kid, do you know who called me here? The girl asked, looking around. The blonde smiled. I called you. Nice to meet you, I'm Naruto Zenin, he said, as if a child were introducing himself. Nobara was confused when she saw him. Zenin? Like Maki-senpai, she said doubtfully. Naruto nodded. Yes. From those same Zenin, he said happily. I called you here for something super important and a matter of life or death, he said seriously. Nobara also became serious and looked at him. What is it? Naruto, the matter of life and death is that idiot Saturo will give you a choice of event for today. I made sure to include one of the easily recognizable slips of paper, please. Choose that one, he said like a baby through tears. Nobara had been a bit of a tear to see the boy's reaction and his life or death issue. That's a joke. First, a kid under 7 calls me for a serious matter, and it turns out it's to pick the game he wants. Because all men must be idiots, he thought, remembering that his sensei and companions weren't very different. I don't have time for nonsense, kid, he said, and the blonde snorted. I'm older than you, he said proudly. The girl looked at him amused. Really? How old are you? 8? 10 at the most, she said amusedly, and the blonde stuck his tongue out at her like a child. I'm 17, crazy. The only reason I'm this old is because I want to be. I can increase my age at will. Besides, I've been a special category since I was 10. So I'm your senpai. Respect me, he said, amused, while boasting about his rank. Waiting for the girl to surprise him. All he received was the girl's wild laughter, even throwing herself to the ground, causing a tick to bite into the boy's head. He already hated her, he thought angrily as the girl continued her outrageous laughter, causing the blonde to become even more annoyed. The girl began to stop laughing and looked at the blonde, amused. "You're a special grade sorcerer. Tell me another one," she said, amused, as her cell phone rang. When she picked it up, she saw Yuji's name calling her, and when she answered, she heard the boy. "Nobara, yeah? What's wrong? You're okay now. How fine. The one who saved you was a blonde, boy-sized but with a special rank. From the Zenin clan." The girl blanked out her expression. "You're not joking, are you?" Upon receiving the other side's denial, she made a strange face. This was undoubtedly the most XD moment of her day. Coughing into his hand, he said, "I win," he said to Naruto, smiling. "A smiley face," he said, making a sad puppy face that Nobara ignored. "You know that's not what I mean. It said you have more than one curse ritual and can even curse weapons. I want some of that in exchange for our deal." Naruto snorted. They all want the same thing. They prefer a cursed weapon to the smiling face of a kid like me. How cruel, he thought through crocodile tears. Leaving the games behind, or at least the tears. The blonde surprisingly reached into his shadow, and an obsidian black hammer emerged. The hammer was more like a two-part sledgehammer with red accents, and a metallic handle that ended in a point. Nobara saw the hammer and showed interest. "It's in good shape. But that doesn't mean I'll accept it. What curses does it have?" she said, secretly excited by the weapon. "Naruto, how demanding. It's a cursed hammer. It duplicates any blow with my double blow curse. It's the same as hitting the enemy twice in the same place at the same time," he said boredly while explaining the hammer. Nobara glared at him. "You could have given him any curse, and all you gave him was this. You couldn't have given him anything grander. Like I don't know fire," she said, annoyed as she turned away. "Yeah, you're really picky. Just let her finish, crazy," he said to the angry Nobara, who yelled hey at the blonde. "It also has shape shifting. In another language, it can transform into another form," he said, and the hammer changed shape. Nobara began to convince herself. "What else? It also has a Shikigami I created trapped inside. Its name is Kirin. It will give you the ability to fire lightning from the hammer. The lightning also passes through physical defenses and affects the opponent's soul. That's all I'll give you with the hammer." Nobara smiled. "Fine deal," she said, taking the hammer from the blonde. When she touched it, it held tightly in her hand. Even if she didn't squeeze it, it remained firmly in her hand. "Another thing. The hammer has a soul bond. As long as you live, it will be with you, and if it separates, just call upon it, and it will come toward you without stopping it. Houses, buildings, barriers, and even domains will be destroyed," he said happily. The girl was surprised and wide-eyed. "Incredible," she thought like a fan. "That's my best weapon so far, all by myself," he said, proud of his creation. "Just remember, you have to choose baseball. The paper is blue and it's going to be sticky. You'll notice right away," he said, rubbing his hands together. "Take it, Saturo enjoyed it. I'll participate," he thought, his eyes wide with a crazed look. "Nobara, why baseball? Isn't there anything better to choose?" "Naruto, I would have chosen dueling, but last year I permanently broke a student's arm, so he was removed from all wrestling matches or any other event other than yesterday's match. So baseball is my last option." "Nobara, that was very strange, but it doesn't matter. I have my new hammer, that's more than enough," she said happily with her hammer and leaving the room. "If you say thank you," the blonde man shouted at the girl, who ignored him. "Okay, let's wait until later." "You'll play there, no?" The blonde boy had a heart attack at the voice behind him. "What's wrong with you, Saturo? Are you trying to rip my heart out or something?" the brat yelled at Gojo, who was laughing like a retard. "Ha! You're like a chicken," he said amusedly, but then his face changed to a very serious one. "I just hope that goosebumps aren't hiding a fox. They tend to be very deceitful and treacherous," Gojo said, staring at the blonde, who put on a serious and intimidating face. "Be careful with your words, Gojo. Foxes bite too," he said seriously, as a worm-like snake emerged from his shadow and coiled around his neck and arm, ready to attack. Gojo lifted his blindfold slightly, revealing one of his blue eyes. Both of them were serious and throwing out killer intent like crazy, but at that moment. Haha. If you had seen your face, you looked like the old man. Naruto shouted, laughing like crazy while Gojo did the same. Me? You looked like sensei. You literally had that retarded face, Gojo said, amused. It doesn't matter anymore, Naruto finished, stopping laughing a little. And because you bribed Nobara, you could just write baseball on all the papers and that's it. No one concentrates enough to look at it, he said, sitting down in one of the chairs. Naruto thought for a moment about his answer, but since he had nothing to hide, he spoke. You told me about her, remember? You said she was powerful and crazy. And I agree. She looks like Uchiha when she's upset. Gojo nodded in complete agreement. Does her resemblance to Shoko when she was younger have anything to do with it? He asked, but the boy shook his head. Although he admitted that he reminds me of Shoko-sensei in appearance, I didn't give him credit for that. You know, I've had a bad feeling lately, and I think you should prepare as much as possible because I feel like a lot of things are coming. So be of some use and take care of yourself, even if it's just a little, he said seriously, and Gojo just stood up from his chair to walk toward the exit. You're softening. That's good, Gojo finished, leaving the blonde alone. Idiot, he whispered inwardly, worried. This pain in his chest doesn't please him. It reminds him of when Geto took the path of evil and lost one of his best friends. You should calm down. You're too worried. I can assure you nothing serious will happen, Ikazoku said, his mouth appearing on the blonde's cheek. Naruto. I hope you're right, he said seriously, staring at the wall. He felt like hell was approaching, just not sure which of the many hells would come to claim Japan, Tokyo. Chapter 3. Gojo. Every year they put out activities inside and a student chooses, and you're the lucky one, said Saturo, giving a box to Nobara, who took it without problems, and a little confused she put her hand in and began to look for any that could be distinguished. Until her hand felt something sticky, and when she took it out she saw a folded blue paper. Gojo looked at the unimportant paper, and Nobara stared at Gojo. What are you waiting for? Open it! The girl ordered it, and when she opened it she read the first thing, baseball. Gojo, really? And I thought no one had written that down. I made sure of it. But what does it matter? Let's tell the others, he said excitedly, leaving Nobara, who noticed more on the paper. If you're wondering why it's sticky, well, at the last minute I realized that inside the box, the white and blue were indistinguishable, so I changed it. Take a kiss from the most kawaii wizard in the world and go play baseball. Nobara. P.S. If you let him ride on your back during the match, I'll give you a reward. What the heck? How does all this fit on such a small piece of paper? It doesn't matter, he said, turning the paper over and seeing the face of a chibi Naruto giving him a hard time. Nobara's sweat dropped upon seeing the blonde's face. Same as sensei. Why do strong people have to be so strange? He said, letting out a puff of smoke. I just hope the uniform is comfortable and cute. I won't wear any junk. I hope it's something fashionable. Later, we found ourselves in a small-time baseball stadium. All the students from Kyoto and Tokyo were gathered there in baseball uniforms. The directors of both groups were in the stands, and Satoru Gojo was at home plate, but wearing more comfortable clothes. He wore a blue shirt, long blue jeans, dress shoes, and dark-tinted glasses. On one side of the stadium, with the Tokyo students, Naruto stood in front of everyone else, Nobara standing next to him, her face blank. Okay. I choose the lineup, as well as positions and strategies, he said, wearing a baseball uniform. It consisted of a white shirt with blue stripes and the word, Tokyo, as the team name. It had the number 4 on the back along with his last name, Zenin, on the top. The pants were the same color and reached below his knees, as did his navy blue socks and sneakers. Wait. Who made you leader? Asked a girl with green hair tied in a ponytail named Maki. Her uniform was the same as Naruto's. Only the pants were short and her socks were super long. On her back her last name like Naruto was Zenin, saying she was related to Naruto, and her number was 9. She was also a student from Tokyo and a 4th grade sorceress. Naruto, I'm the oldest here. Okatsu was more than 6 months older than you, and Okatsu is more than 3 months older than you. That makes me older than Inumaki, who is younger than Okatsu, said the little blonde. Inumaki. Narutomaki, said the white-haired man with tattoos on his mouth, and the blonde man looked at him. Toji Inumaki was a young man who appeared to be around 16 or 17 years old. His hair was white and loose, and his clothes were the same as the team's. His last name, Inumaki, and the number 2 were on the back. His pants reached down to his sneakers, not letting his socks be seen. He also had tattoos on his cheeks and tongue that were related to his cursed ritual. He was also a student from Tokyo and a nearly first-year sorcerer. Yes, Inumaki. I know, you shouldn't tell me that way, the little boy said, taking a drop from Nobara. How the hell did he understand that? He just said his name along with Maki-senpai's. He thought, not realizing that Naruto was actually a food ingredient and the combination of both Zenin's names. It's time to start, and you haven't even chosen the batting order or positions, said a dark-haired man with an emo sad boy face named Megumi Fushiguro. His uniform was the same as the team's, except it had a blue and white logo and the name Tokyo on the cover, just like the jersey. His last name was also on the back, as Fushiguro, and his number 5. He was also a student at Tokyo and a 2nd grade sorcerer. Megumi is right, said the salmon-haired boy. Naruto nodded and climbed onto Nobara's back, leaving everyone with their mouths down. Even the Kyotoites were like that, while the brown-haired girl just frowned at the looks. I just hope she gives me something good. He thought angrily at the team's uniform, only it had the number 3 on the back. Like the others, she was a student from Tokyo and a 3rd grade sorceress. Okay. First up to bat will be Nobara, followed by Megumi then. Finish up. We can't wait for you, said a green-haired girl and hung up. Her uniform was the opposite of Tokyo's. She had short pants like all the girls, navy blue high socks, and a matching suit. On the back was her last name, which was Zenin, and her number was 82. Also 1st grade students and a 3rd grade sorceress. Naruto on Nobara's head looked at her. Oh hello he said waving. The girl smiled mockingly. Hey Naruto, she said, turning back to look at Nobara. I didn't know you'd call yourself a nanny. Especially one like this, the Zenin said, looking mockingly at the frowning Kujisaki. Naruto, she's not a nanny. She's a Nobara, didn't you know her? Something. Let's just say we had a previous encounter, said the Zenin, looking at the Kujisaki, who looked like an atomic bomb about to explode. While the blonde in her head didn't notice Nobara's face and smiled happily like a child. Okay. I have to pick an order, so see you soon, he said, waving goodbye to the green-haired girl, who did the same. She's a really good friend. Hey, why didn't you tell her you were Mai-chan's friend? I asked, like a doubtful child. Nobara, we're not friends and don't talk to me like you're my friend. Don't worry, I don't. I've stopped being interested in making friends, he said calmly. You know, has someone precious to you ever died because of your arrogance or confidence? Don't answer, it's a stupid question. You're not an idiot like me. Sorry for comparing you to someone like me. You must have felt insulted, the blonde said as if it were a joke, laughing dryly as he climbed off Nobara's back, leaving her stunned and shocked. Although the boy tried to hide it, she managed to sense the sadness, guilt, and self-loathing in those words. It seems the boy isn't all roses. I'd even say he despises himself, Nobara thought, beside herself. Toad will be the 3rd, Panda the 4th, Maki the 5th, Yuji the 6th, and me the 7th. The blonde finished, causing Nobara to lose her temper and something to hit Yuji's head. Yuji, wait. Isn't this cheating? We have an extra member, so that puts them at a disadvantage, right? Said the boy with black marks under his eyelids. Naruto looked at him. It doesn't matter, nor that we'll all bat at the same time. Besides, I assure you, they don't care. They're very arrogant, except for she's good," he said happily. "Only you believe it," Maki whispered, her face blank. "Naruto, good. Almost everyone is here, so go Nobara," he said like a coach. The brunette did as instructed and entered the batting plate where Aoi was catching. The girl was ready to bat, but she was surprised to see Mai moving a baseball throwing machine with a stamp that said, "Mekamaru I faced." "What the hell is this?" she shouted, throwing down her helmet and walking toward Mai. Before she could get there, she was stopped by a panda who was holding her back from starting a fight. "Mai, what do you mean?" "It's Mekamaru," she said innocently. "That's a ball-throwing machine. And that's cheating," she shouted angrily, walking toward the bowl where Mai was. "Really? I only see Mekamaru here. Besides, you seem to know a lot about this. Are you a fan?" she said as if she didn't know anything about what goes on while making a face of innocence. "Megumi, shouldn't you go stop her?" "No. Panda will take care of it," the blonde boy said tersely. He really didn't care about any of this. He just wanted to participate to see if he could shake off that bad feeling, but this only makes it stronger. It's as if they were warning him about something, but what? Nobara got angry at this. "Fine. I'll show you," she shouted, returning to home play in full catcher's mode. With that, the machine launched the ball. And Nobara, with all his might, slammed it through second base, past it, and safely to first base. "Naruto, fine. Fushiguro." The black-haired man stood just as cool and squared up in front of home plate. When the ball came out, Nobara ran, stealing a base, and Megumi bunted the ball, leaving Aoi to throw to first base, throwing out Megumi, who returned without a problem. Gojo behind Alu looked at that in silence. "Yuji, now it's Toji's turn." "Good luck," said Yuji, greeting the Inumaki. "Salmon," the boy said, standing at home plate where he struck out after 3 simple balls. "Flakes," he said dejectedly, coming off the base. Panda entered the bat, delivering a strong hit that the second baseman let go, allowing Nobara to reach third base. "Gojo, strikeout." "Next?" "Maki, it's my turn," she said happily as she stepped onto the plate. Concentrated. The ball came out of the ball-throwing machine, but with a strong blow, the Zenin sent it flying super far. "We've won," she said, walking confidently and slowly. Maki did the same until a dwarf with blonde hair and 2 upturned buns on a broom caught the ball. This was Momo Nishimiya, a student from Kyoto and a sorceress in her second year. Why? That's cheating," Yuji shouted. "Rice." Toji accompanied him. "Fushiguro. It's our turn downstairs, Nobara," he said without interest. "Yudaheim, you guys have a 1-player advantage, so one of them has the advantage of using their spells," he said without interest. Naruto said nothing and walked down to the field with the others. "I'm the pitcher, Maki's on first base, Nobara's on second base, Yuji's on catcher, Panda's on third, Megumi's on left field, Toji's on right." "Fine. Let's play," he said, smiling falsely, although no one noticed except Nobara and Maki, but the latter was used to those smiles. Yuji was just finishing putting on his catcher's uniform when his brother took up residence at home plate, surprising him. "So, catcher, huh? It's a good position. You defend, throw, catch, and manage. It's the best position for you, brother," he said as they both lined up to bat and cover. A student from Kyoto and a first-grade sorcerer. "Everything, why don't you play pitcher?" "He can't. It's the only position Mekamaru can play," Yudaheim explained. "It doesn't matter," the big guy with the scar said cheerfully. "If I hit a home run, promise you'll pitch for me," he said as he prepared himself, but when he noticed Naruto, he smiled. "Get ready, big guy," Naruto said, ready to throw. "Maki, Naruto! You won't be able to throw the ball like that, you're too small," Maki shouted at the blonde, who snorted. "Of course I can. Do I look like a Momo?" he said, offending the blonde dwarf. Naruto looked at Tadu and thought, "What's your type of woman, Naruto?" Because of the question, the blonde's ball flew out, and hit Todo's face, making him fall to the ground. Nobody sends me to ask stupid questions, the blonde thought seriously. Yuji, being the only one, tried to help him, but stopped when he heard the others talking. Okay, ball. Okay, Zenin ball. Good ball. Flakes. Good ball, Naruto. Yuji, Todo, it seems like everyone hates you. Later. After the blow that knocked out Aoi, Todo was taken to the infirmary and replaced by Momo. Miwa entered the bat, and he smiled, throwing softly. The blue-haired girl hit the ball hard, sending it to right field. Before seeing the result, Momo ran off. You shouldn't run yet, shouted Yudaheim. Huh? Why? Yudaheim, if you didn't know the rules. As Toge caught and threw the ball to first base, Maki, catching the ball, she smiled confidently as she threw it to Naruto. Almost there. The last batter entered the plate, a boy with bandages on his face and closed eyes. I heard you fought with a special degree, he said to Yuji, taking his place. Yuji thought for a moment. Well, one thing led to another. The boy nodded. Yuji, why are you a sorcerer? He asked, prepared. Yuji, I tend to feel lonely. I want to save a lot of people so they can be with me in my heart on the day I die, he said, ready to receive the ball. Understandable, he said as a ball landed. That's a very good reason, he concluded, allowing 2 more balls to land in Itadori's glove, ending the inning. Satoru, strike 3. Strikeout change, said the Gojo as the Tokyo team went up and the Kyoto team went down, switching positions. Naruto, your turn, Yuji. I want to see a strong blow. It shall be so, he shouted, just as excited. When the salmon-haired boy entered the plate, the machine released the ball harder than usual, but Yuji still hit the ball with such force that it even went over Momo's flight and crossed to the other side, making it a home run. Nobara, come on, Yuji! Everyone on the team shouted happily. Naruto said nothing and just stared thoughtfully at the sky. Today was the day he found it hardest to pretend, having been pretending for over 10 years. You think about that too much, brat. The blonde man was surprised to hear the voice. Ikizoku? He asked. In that instant, everything around him changed to a completely abandoned city filled with vegetation. In a building, an old man was quietly meditating. Naruto, why did you bring me here? You know I have a game outside, right? Ikizoku, I just wanted to tell you to stop thinking about Geto. He chose that path and suffered the consequences. It's not your fault, said the old man. Naruto, I know. It's just that I feel like if I had been stronger, or at least less arrogant, I would have been able to save her, and this wouldn't have happened. The old Ikizoku looked at him. It's something that would have happened. You were a young man of 8 years old and had barely acquired my power. Anyone in your place with that much power in their hands would have thought they were the most powerful. It's not getting any better. You just tell me I'm stupid and scum, I whispered in a sad, melancholic voice. The old man looked at this and sighed. Come back later. We'll talk more seriously, he said, confusing the blonde. What do you? He cut himself off as he left his mind and returned to the real world where Yuji was still running the bases. Okay, my turn, he thought, grabbing his helmet and bat to step into home play and get into position. With that, the machine threw a ball that crossed the side of the blonde's head, making it impossible for him to hit it due to the height difference, resulting in a strike from Satoru. Maki, the ball is set too high for you. You need to grow up. The long-haired Zenin yelled, causing Naruto to give her the finger of friendship for, indirectly, calling him a dwarf. And the Zenin returned the gesture by giving him the finger of friendship. With that, the blonde grew, creating a smoke screen around him. A blonde man who appeared to be about 18 years old, with a muscular build and hair tied in a loose but short bun. His eyes were honey-colored, tending toward brown, and his clothes looked like those from Japan in the past. A kimono with a black belt that had a jewel in the center, he also had a necklace with a similar rock, and his pants were white and loose. Both Itadori and Nobara were amazed to see the blonde's form. Even Kujisaki could tell he was hot, to herself of course, But that didn't take away from the fact that the young man in that appearance looked like an angel. Wow! This very. Words failed Kujisaki's lips to describe such beauty. Beside her, Maki smiled. And you haven't even seen his original appearance, she said, smiling at the girl's face when she saw the boy older than her. Nobara was even more surprised. This boy, made by angels, could be even more beautiful. That was impossible, or was it? Tell me it's not true. Maki smiled, making Nobara slump. Because he's not on my team. Nobara thought through her tears. She wanted a handsome guy on her team, not a salmon-haired retard, not an emo guy with a sad boy face, and especially not a white-haired guy who wore a bandage on his face, probably to hide his ugly face. She wanted someone like the blonde guy right now. With the sensei. Yaga, you still hate Itadori? The director from Tokyo asked his partner at his side. It's not a matter of hatred, the old man replied. The rules of jujutsu prohibit Itadori's existence. The only reason he exists is because of Naruto and Satoru's whim, he said, looking at the game. We shouldn't bend the rules for just one individual either. Many people die for his mere existence. Yaga nodded. That's true. But thanks to him, lives have also been saved. For example, when he united with everyone to contain the special category. This isn't limited to our students, but they'll surely continue to accumulate regrets. I wish I had done this, because they didn't do that, because I didn't say such and such, I wish they had told me. With that, they both fell silent. To tell you the truth, I don't know what to do with Itadori either, but for now, we just have to watch over them. With Naruto. Yes. I know I look very beautiful and all. But you mustn't lose focus, Mai and Miwa. Because I'm going to hit the ball as hard as possible. Satoru, strike 2. The blonde man made a face like a chicken. That's cheating, I wasn't ready. Yuji shouted from his position in the dugout next to his team. It's not. I was inside the plate and Ko was calling a timeout, isn't that true, Naruto? I slyly asked the blonde, who nodded. Indeed, he said happily. Because the hell he always agrees with her. He seems like a puppet letting himself be manipulated by her, the girl said angrily. He doesn't let himself be manipulated, he just does it to push her away, Maki said at his side. What do you mean? Nobara asked with interest. The blonde was very strange and mysterious. Naruto usually does that. Although he seems happy and cheerful, he's really no different from Megumi. While Fushiguro acts openly and shows that he's not very interested in things, Naruto does the opposite. He doesn't act like himself and always tries to shorten conversations, but in a way that doesn't make it seem like he doesn't care or that the person isn't interested. Nobara, and why would he do that? It wouldn't be easier, I don't know. Just say he's not interested, that's all. Yes. But that would do what he's trying to avoid. Normal humans are curious, always trying to discover what they're trying to hide, and wizards are the same. If Naruto keeps pushing everyone away from him and stays away, he'll simply draw attention to himself, making everyone wonder and become interested in who he is, and sooner or later someone would investigate and get into his life. Kalanda said, looking at the blonde who was already ready to hit again. Nobara listened attentively, and it made sense. How do you know so much about him if he always keeps to himself? Maki smiled. I'm from the same clan as him. Does that give you a clue? I met him when we were kids. He was imperious, always smiling, and a real joker. All he did was prank the clan, but behind all that joy, there was just a depressed, lonely boy. He was a year older than me, and even then, he looked younger. His clothes were the same day after day, and he often seemed like he didn't sleep or even live at home with his parents. Nobara was surprised. Was he abused by his parents? He never gave that hint. Although they didn't seem to pay attention to him, she said seriously. Nobara, but why would they do that? Maki sighed. The Zenin clan is characterized by two things: having the second most powerful innate curse technique and valuing power more than family. So anyone who didn't have an innate technique, or in my case, cursed energy, would be treated like trash and wouldn't be considered by the leaders to even become a sorcerer. Nobara, so you went through the same thing as him? Yes, but it was never as high as Naruto's. While my parents simply left me high and dry or didn't value me as someone important, Naruto didn't even seem to exist to his family. It was as if they erased him from their minds the moment they found out he didn't have a ritual at the age of 6. Nobara was confused by the last part. He didn't have a ritual? But he is known for having displayed the ability to summon Shikigami, curse weapons, and launch wind attacks, she said, confused by the "he didn't have a ritual at the age of 6" part. I was confused too. A year after going through all that hell, Naruto activated a cursed ritual, summoning a fox with the ability to shoot fire from its mouth, create winds capable of delaying entire districts, and control its size. I also saw him summon a 3-headed dog. Both were the size of a 2-story house. With that alone, he was crowned the greatest prodigy of the clan. Those bastards, they barely respected him when he activated his technique. They're trash, Kujisaki said angrily at the blonde. Knowing that they barely took him into account when the boy awakened, his technique angered her. How could a clan be so vile? She knew the world of jujutsu was more gray and black than black and white, but to the point of doing such a thing to a child. It was too much. Maki, although I don't know why he changed so much. Even after awakening his curse technique, he remained just as cheerful and joking. Although he became confident and sometimes arrogant, he remained just as pure, until one day he arrived at the doors of the bloody clan and seemed very sad. It was the first time I saw him since he entered the academy a year ago. Nobara. So that must have been a mission, she said, not realizing that Maki had literally told her that the blonde entered the academy a year after awakening his technique, meaning at age 7. Maki smiled. Maybe so, but he never talks about it, and his teammates made it back alive, so I can't say, she said, leaving Nobara wondering as she stood up to leave. The blonde had hit a powerful home run to right field that disappeared from everyone's sight, effectively ending the game. Just don't try to investigate him, you'll find nothing, she said, leaving to leave. The brunette sat there thinking while everyone on her team gathered their belongings around her to leave. And at that moment, her eyes lit up like spotlights. I need to know more about him. With the sensei. Both old men could be seen appreciating the ants carrying pieces of cookies. But at that moment, Saturo started laughing like a retard and stepped on the cookies, surprising both directors. But when he finished crossing, the ants were still alive and didn't even look like they had been touched. Yaga, take care of Saturo first. Chapter 4. Naruto could still be seen, still in his new appearance, walking alone through a forest. There seemed to be no life here besides himself, and the small kurama wrapped around his neck like a coat. The boy was changing to sort out his thoughts. He still had that bad vibe, and he could tell it was getting stronger. Something big was going to happen, and he was sure it would be soon. Stop! The blonde man heard a voice say to him and looked back to see the Kujisaki woman running after him. As he reached her, Nobara began to breathe rapidly and shake from the exhaustion of trying to catch up to the blonde man. What do you want, Nobara? He asked, smiling. Now that Kujisaki was noticing, the smile actually seemed a little fake. It would be hard to see why it seemed to have been polished and trained for so long to look real, but still had that hint of falseness about it. Combined with the fact that the smile didn't reach the blonde's eyes, she could tell it was actually fake. Nobara, I want to, she gasped. Talk, she gasped. With you, she gasped. The blonde man looked confused. Sure? We can talk, he said, confused. Nobara, I want to know more about you. So tell me your story, the girl ordered while the boy scratched his head with more doubts. Naruto, is that okay? I was born into the Zenin clan. At the age of 7, I activated my cursed technique and entered Tokyo Metropolitan High School. At 10, I became a special grade and dropped out in my second year, but at 17, I re-entered. Nobara got angry. Not that one. I want the real one, and as detailed as possible, the brown-haired woman demanded. Naruto, I don't know what you're talking about, it's the real one. You can ask any student, he said while inwardly, he was already thinking of 1,000 ways to end the conversation. Coming up with something like that, he falsely looked at his wrist and spoke. Sorry, I have something to do, but if you want, we can talk tomorrow. Maki-senpai already told me the truth, and I know that you secretly distance yourself from everyone, and I want to know why you do it. Naruto stopped pacing, and Nobara smiled. None of your business, were the dry words that came out of the teenager's lips, surprising Nobara. Wow, that was unexpected, she thought, surprised by his cold reaction. Even though she knew the boy wasn't really cheerful, she didn't expect him to be so cold. She believed he was more serious than cold, but this proved her wrong. As he stopped thinking about the boy, the words came back, but this time in a less serious tone. Hey! You don't talk to a woman like that! Idiot! Naruto continued on his way. That's why Nobara got angry, and the boy, ignoring her screams, continued on his way. Until he had to jump to the side to avoid a blow from Nobara, causing Kurama on his neck to enter his shadow, and the boy looked seriously at Kujisaki, who was holding the hammer he had hit him before. What do you think you're doing? He asked seriously, looking at the confident and smiling girl. I'm very known for getting what I want. So tell me what I want to know, and this will go back to normal. Naruto didn't respond as Nobara returned to the attack, only this time it was from a distance, hitting 3 nails that she threw into the air, sending them at high speed and with a slight electric blue glow over the blonde, who took the first one and deflected the other 2 because of it. But a few seconds later, Nobara was on top of the blonde and launched a strong blow with the hammer. The boy placed his arms above his head in an X shape to cushion the blow. And the instant the small hammer with the blonde's arms, a strong ray of gigantic qualities fell on both of them, causing a very strong explosion. With that you had it, Nobara said, looking straight at Naruto, who had his arms in an X. Nobara didn't seem to have much damage from the lightning, since when he was thrown by it he didn't suffer as much because his energy was cursed. He barely had some burns on his arms, and his clothes were a little torn on his arms and chest, but Naruto was a different story. His arms were bloodied, with flesh spilling out of his forearm, as that was where he had taken the brunt. His face was badly damaged and burned on the right side, with blood oozing from his head, and his chest was also bleeding from burn wounds. Nobara was shocked and frightened by the blonde's dying appearance. I am sorry, I didn't mean to do this. I just wanted to hit you. Are you okay? She asked, worried for the boy who was injured but still standing firm. Naruto, don't worry, just go back where you came from, he said, lowering his arms, causing more blood to flow from the wounds, worrying the girl. She didn't want to be known for killing one of her classmates simply for knowing about her past. Nobara, of course he didn't hurt me. Look at the state of your condition. If you die, I'll be the one to blame, and I don't want that for my witch profile, she said, annoyed with the boy who didn't seem to care about her words. You don't have to worry, I'm fine, she said, smiling fakely to see if that would work, but as she expected, it failed miserably. Stop smiling like that. You know I didn't create that white dove smile, he said as he searched for bandages in his bag of nails. But a smoke caught his attention, and when he saw the boy again, his mouth fell open, since the once dying boy was now completely healthy, and besides his clothes, the boy looked like he had never been hit by a super beam. Nobara, how is that possible? I asked in astonishment. The blonde smiled. Reverse ritual, he said, smiling, but this time it wasn't fake, just a small smile. You know the reverse cursed ritual? But how come few sorcerers know it? She said in amazement. The reverse curse technique was something few knew about. It was so difficult that most who knew it were in the special category. At that moment, something struck him. Tell me how to do it. Naruto raised an eyebrow. If you want, he said uninterestedly. Just go wheeze, he explained, making circular movements with his fingers. While this was happening, Nobara looked at him with a WTF face. Don't you understand? Don't worry, I was like that too. Nobara, and how did you learn it? Naruto smiled nervously at the memory. My right arm was cut off, my chest was stabbed 3 times, and my entire back was technically ripped open with a dagger, he said, memories swirling in his head. Nobara was shocked by this. And the reversal ritual cured you of all of that. That's incredible! She exclaimed, excited to learn it. Although Naruto lowered that mood. Technically, he didn't heal me. I had very little cursed energy and my body was very emaciated in the chest, and since that's the place where the cursed energy resides, my control was very poor. And what did you do? Did you use everything you had? Did someone else help you, or did you do it alone? I asked, encouraged by the story. Naruto, something like that. I made a binding vow. The vow was that my healing with the reverse ritual would multiply to inhuman levels, but in exchange for that I would never be able to heal anyone else. Something selfish, but hey. In death you can't think of others, after all, you'll always die alone. He said, remembering the agony of crossing the gates of life and death, and how that binding vow was his last hope of living. Nobara was amazed by the short story. Knowing how someone achieved the reverse ritual was always helpful. Phew, maybe one day she'd understand. Hey, could I also make a binding vow with the ritual if I learned it? That would make it better. Naruto, if you want, of course. But remember, you must give something high. I gave the ability to help others from my own life. You must give something of equal value to have a healing like mine. He said, and at that, a dagger shot out from his shadow, and with a quick grab, he cut his arm. What the hell are you doing? Stop yelling so much. You look like Naruto said as his arm returned in an instant, surprising Nobara even more. Giving the ability to heal someone with your reverse ritual because you're almost immortal, that's incredible, she thought excitedly. She looked like a bomb about to explode. And I'll also make that bond of not healing anyone, she shouted happily as she celebrated, while the blonde looked at her with a chibi face. You don't even know the reverse ritual, and you're already thinking of sacrificing the gift of helping others for yourself. What a good person you are. Don't judge me, she said angrily, pointing at the blonde. Besides, I could fight this way. Being immortal would help me save even more people, she said, pointing at herself with her thumb, excited. You won't be immortal. Your head and stomach are sensitive spots. One is where the reverse ritual happens, he said, pointing to his head. And the other is where the cursed energy occurs, he said, this time pointing to his stomach. And while you could still regenerate even if you lose your stomach, it would only be if you act quickly and use the energy scattered throughout the other parts of your body. But if that energy scatters before you use the reverse technique and restore the stomach, you can consider yourself dead, he said, dropping the dagger from before into his shadow. Nobara listened to that attentively. Good. I'd still be practically immortal, and even more so with the binding vow. Besides, if I need to heal someone, I'd simply break the vow and do it again. The girl smiled, believing she'd thought of everything. That's impossible, the blonde said, starting to walk again. She didn't know why, but chatting a little with this girl took away that restlessness, though not enough to get it out of her mind. Nobara. Huh? What do you mean by that? I asked, walking behind the boy. I say it's impossible. A binding vow is the same as a cursed contract. Both are carried out in the same way. Something to gain, something to lose, and a warning if you break either of the pacts. Although contracts are more severe and fixed. While a contract can only have one type of warning, which is death, in a binding vow, the warning can be chosen by you. And just like gain and loss, they must be of equal value. Like me, I asked for an absurd regeneration in exchange for not healing anyone, and my warning for not keeping the binding vow is to never use the reverse ritual on myself, or on any other person or curse forever. He said, not saying something that was missing, which was how to recover the ritual. But it was a very cruel thing to do, and he wouldn't say it. Wow. Death makes you give everything without thinking about anything, she said in amazement. Giving away the ability to use the reverse ritual forever is a lot, especially since few people know how to do it, and losing something as valuable as that technique must be very difficult. Well, I'll see what I give in return the day I learn it. How was it done? You just take your cursed energy and make it fuzzy, she said, repeating the movements. Don't give it too much thought. If you're ready to learn it, you'll do it that way and nothing else. That's how energy works. No matter how much you train, you'll only learn it if you're ready. She finished, now standing at the entrance to the Zenin clan. Nobara. Since when did we get here? I asked, crossing with the boy. At that, a man with black hair and a pointed front, wearing a high-collared suit with yellow buttons and black combat pants, stood in front of them. Naruto, you came here unexpectedly, and you also brought non-Zenin sorcerers. Don't you remember the rules? Naruto, Nobito. Sometimes I wonder if you don't get tired of being humiliated, he said without interest, earning the adult's hateful glare. Get out of my sight until further notice. When I want to see scum, I'll call you, he said very seriously and with an icy voice. With hatred and fear, the elder Zenin stepped back, giving free passage to the young people who advanced again. Wow! You really do command respect, she said, amused, while giving the middle finger to the older Zenin, who seemed very angry. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he was blowing smoke like a bull. Naruto, everyone here knows my feelings for them. My ears are ringing, and the only reason I still come here is because of someone I know, he said, arriving at a stand. The blonde sat down, confused by Nobara's action. So what will we do here? She asked curiously. The blonde looked at her and, tilting his head, answered. And what are you doing here? Bomb! Nobara fell on her back at the question. Standing up angrily, the girl pointed at the blonde. What the hell are you saying? I've literally been following you because I thought you'd teach me something useful to learn the reverse ritual. Well, you're wrong. I've told you everything there is to know about the reverse ritual. After that, it's up to you to figure out how to discover it. You might learn it quickly, it might be through near death, or you might never learn it at all. It's all a matter of luck, he said, and a bowl was placed on the table in front of him. Thank you, Tuchi-san, he said while talking to an older man with closed eyes and a big smile. This man was Tuchi Zenin. The man wore a tablecloth and a chef's hat, his hair was black and short, and based on his noble appearance, I'd guess he was about 48 or 50 years old. Tuchi, don't you want anything else, young Naruto? She calmly asked the boy, who smiled, and this smile surprised Nobara, because the smile was real and not the one he gave her a while ago. And you, young lady? Aren't you going to order anything? I asked Nobara, who was out of herself. Nobara just frowned at the blonde and paused to think for a moment. She wanted to know more about the reverse ritual, and the only one familiar with that technique now was this blonde, who was a secret emo. Sighing, she spoke, because she had no other options. I want a vegetarian one, he said, sitting next to Naruto, who was eating non-stop. I hope you don't mind if I sit here, he said mockingly, trying to provoke the Zenin, but failing miserably when the boy gave him a fake smile. Naruto, of course. Nobara was angered by the response, and even more so by the smile. Because you can truly smile at that old man, but not at me. Doesn't a lady like me deserve it? It's not a question of lady or gentleman. I barely know you. Why would I treat you any differently than everyone else? Or even tell you my story? He said calmly, eating. Even with the girl's bipolar and demanding nature, he could openly say he was calmer. He had even stopped thinking about that bad vibe. Nobara smiled. Because I know the truth about you. Maki already told me everything, she said as Naruto, who had finished, stood up and began to walk. When Nobara was about to follow him, the blonde spoke. Tuchi-san puts a lot of effort into his dishes, don't be rude, and at least have the decency to wait for him. And if you really don't want him, don't throw him away. Many people wanted him right now, he said, putting his hands in his pockets and continuing to walk. Naruto, oh. And one more thing, when you're done, get out of the district as quickly as possible, and if possible, off the grounds. Nobito will use your unregistered hospitality as a shield to hurt you for what I did a few minutes ago. Nobara. If that's true, at least escort me to the gates, you idiot! The brunette shouted angrily. She just didn't attack him again with the hammer because she still didn't know how to avoid using the hammer's rays. The boy heard the claim, and with a hand gesture, one of the triplets called Mekari appeared. Nobara got angry at this, and the blonde boy simply disappeared in a navy blue flash. Nobara growled as she pulled out a nail and with her blow with the hammer made the Shinigami disappear into shadows and look around for the blonde who doesn't appreciate being visited. Tucci. Here's your plate, miss, Tucci said, holding a ball. The girl was surprised by this. Why is it in a bag? The old man smiled. I listened to your conversation. When young Naruto is like this, it's because he tries to avoid you as quickly as possible. So, I took the time you spent talking to bag the food, he said, smiling as Nobara took the food and was about to go after the blonde Zenin, but was stopped by the old man. Before you go, I want to tell you not to be too hard on young Naruto. He suffered a lot at the hands of the clan. And he even lost many friends during missions when he was just a 10-year-old boy. That's the reason for distancing himself so much. I just don't want to get attached again and suffer the same thing, she said, and Nobara nodded. Don't worry. I'm a very persistent person, and I won't let you go until you tell me what I want to know, he said with perseverance that the old man recognized. Just like him, the old man thought, looking at Nobara. I'll go in one direction. At that moment, a girl with brown hair and the same tablecloth and chef's hat walked in. It was I am Zenin, a 25-year-old girl. The idiot was here, wasn't he? She asked angrily, causing the old man to sigh. I already told you not to call him that. He's a good guy. If you take the time to get to know him, maybe dash. Don't even try. She cut the old man off as she turned around. I won't try to meet someone who abandoned the clan and left us behind as quickly as they became strong. Just like the Fushiguro, they only became strong and left us behind to go with the Gojo, she said, annoyed. Tucci, you know it wasn't like that. Young Naruto didn't abandon us just to become strong. The girl rolled her eyes. Yeah, right. And that's why he left for Tokyo Metropolitan Academy a week after summoning a Kitsune and a Cerberus, isn't that right? She said, annoyed, but when her father was about to answer, he sighed. I don't want to fight you over him. Let's just leave it at that. The girl left the room. Pure came back in and, reaching out to the side, made a ladle fly toward her and fall into her hand. I'll take care of it now. Go rest, she said, and the old man smiled. Tucci, you're a good girl. If only you wouldn't think the clan's words are the only truth, you could meet young Naruto, she said as she removed the tablecloth and hat and left the food stand. I'll come to replace you before 2. The girl smiled at him and began serving customers while the old man turned around and walked toward his house. With Naruto, he could be seen in flashes of lightning running through the entire district without a care, and in less than a few seconds, the boy left the entire Zenin clan district and reached the back gates. Good. With that, he shouldn't find me, he thought, hands in his pockets, jumping off the large Zenin clan wall and heading towards the nearby forest. All of this went unnoticed by the hollow in her red kimono. This was because Ael's star had fallen and the boy hadn't touched her skin, nor did he feel her there, although he could see the eye and mouth on her back, but he didn't say anything. That girl has a very varied skill set. Techniques really develop over time, Ichizoku Zenin thought, looking at the nail that glowed with cursed energy. The only reason the boy didn't feel sorry for her was because of him, and that's how it would stay for as long as he wanted. With Nobara, she could be seen wandering through the district, heading toward the district's back gate, all the while trying not to be seen by Tao Nobito or someone in a similar uniform. Turning a corner, the girl finally found a trash can, but when she opened it, she saw a boy hiding. What the hell are you doing there, kid? She asked, sweat dropping. I play hide and seek with my friends, the young man replied with a smile. Fine. Take this and eat it when you have time, he said, handing the bag to the boy, who smiled doubtfully. Thanks, he said hesitantly. He wasn't hungry now, so he'd just leave it for later. With that settled, Nobara closed the trash can and continued along the path her skill indicated. I really wouldn't believe that I'd ever run, she thought, smiling as she followed the path that the nail the Zenin had marked out for her. Chapter 5. Naruto. What did you want to talk about? He asked into the air. But he didn't receive a response from its occupant, and he sighed. He knew the occupant wouldn't answer until he entered her mind to converse. Closing his eyes, he concentrated a little, and when he opened them, he was back in his shared mind, until a large, semi-transparent golden Buddhist fist tried to hit him, sending him flying against one of the many walls full of vegetation. Due to the impact, his appearance changed to that of a boy of almost 18 years old, with blonde hair like the sun, sky-blue eyes, and a bright tone with 3 marks on each cheek like a feline. He had an open orange jacket showing his large and toned abdomen, which was adorned by a large six-pack and large, but athletic arms. He was wearing black sports pants and had 3 marks on his cheeks. His hair was messy but with a controlled cut and shaved at the bottom, giving him a wilder appearance. "What the hell? What the hell is wrong with you, old man?" The old man shouted at the old man, standing on top of the Buddhist figure he had summoned earlier, only this one was surprisingly larger and had thousands more hands. "You're still thinking like that, you barely managed to react to my attack," said the old man, in mourning, standing above the figure, his palms in prayer. "Naruto, my thoughts have nothing to do with it. You were the one who attacked me recently." Ichigo ignored those words as a second 10-meter fist struck him, causing the ground to crack into a large crater. The boy frowned as, with a hand seal, the Mekari triplets emerged and began to release compressed gusts of wind that didn't affect his body because they were transparent and intangible. "He hated you. Innate technique of the 10 shadows, battle creatures. Zal matter come," he said as the worm from before appeared from his shadow, but this time it was gigantic, measuring almost 30 meters long and 7 meters wide, with its worm-like mouth full of circular teeth. The worm sank into the ground, disappearing as the triplets began to throw gusts of wind at Ichigo, who began to dodge or deflect them with a golden-edged staff he pulled from his shadow. The old man easily dodged the worm that emerged from the ground and struck with his cane so hard that the worm's head exploded, scattering everywhere. The giant worm's body disappeared into shadow while the Mekari triplets were simultaneously torn apart by the old man at a high speed that Naruto couldn't see. "It doesn't matter if he's old, he's still just as strong," Naruto thought, watching as the old Zenin got into a fighting stance with his staff. Naruto smiled at that, and from his shadow a double blade came out, and he got into the same stance. Without moving, they both waited patiently until a leaf from the abundantly destroyed city covered by trees fell in front of them, and at that moment the fight began. Naruto launched himself at the old man, skillfully throwing slashes, but the old man remained unfazed and blocked them as if it were child's play. Seeing that he wouldn't win, Naruto did a somersault that surprised Ichigo, and that's why he barely reacted to the blonde's aerial kick that he blocked with the staff, causing it to break. Naruto smiled and Ichigo did the same. Now with 2 staffs the old man began the attack of blows that overwhelmed Naruto to the point that his weapon was sent flying from his hands, having to receive a combo of 5 hits to the face, and a last one to the stomach that knocked him to the ground. Slow, both in attack and reaction. What are you thinking? Sugurigedo, Saturo Gojo, or Kujisaki Nobara? Naruto, has age affected you yet? Why would I think about that crazy brunette? I asked, snorting. Ichigo smiled. I'm old, it's true, and that gives me more experience with women than you, and I've had a lot of it in my 179 years of life. I know the girl catches your attention, not romantically or sexually, but she catches your attention, he said, and the blonde looked at him. Maybe so, but it's only because of her resemblance to Shoko. He lied as the old man shook his hand. Taking the hand, he smiled as 2 sayas shot out from his shadow and he tried to hit the old man with them, but a fist from the statue, which had been motionless until now, knocked him away from the older Zenin. I think you still have a long way to go before you can surprise me, he said, and Naruto smiled. You think? The old man became curious, but at that moment a giant creature over 10 meters tall tried to crush him with its 2 drill-like hands. But Ichigo managed to dodge it and get away. When he turned to see Naruto, the boy had been enveloped in a horde of blue butterflies with black details. When they disappeared, they left the space free, leaving it clear that Naruto was no longer there. Ichigo, he's learning, he thought as he moved his head, dodging a spear that was going to pierce him, when he again had to block Naruto with his 2 sayas that he blocked again. But releasing the weapons, Naruto took the old man's hands, letting a tail-shaped and head of a snake tie them to each other. Naruto, are you ready? Innate technique of the 10 shadows, wild creature. New, he said when in a yellow flash he disappeared and Ichizoku rolled his eyes. When a creature with the face and fur of a monkey and the body of a tiger, which was the owner of the snake tail. At that moment, strong electricity began to move through the creature's body, causing it to pass to its tail, causing Ichizoku to receive the impact of the attack. Naruto appeared next to a horde of butterflies again. You lost, old man, he said, smiling. But at that moment, the Ichizoku, smoking from the electric attack, disappeared in smoke, surprising Naruto. What the hell? At that moment, a giant creature, over 3 meters tall, with highly muscular build and red armor, also had tentacles on its face where its chin was. In its right hand, it held a large axe, which it used to block the boy's path. And on his back another creature with pink-green skin, over 2 meters tall and equally muscular, had sharp blades on his forearms that he used to threaten Naruto on his back. Fine, I won't do anything, he said, smiling falsely. He knocked the green giant's axe away from him, while simultaneously lying down on the ground to avoid the other purple giant's stab. Rolling to avoid the purple Shikigami's stomp, he jumped and landed on his feet. Then, once standing, he punched the green giant in the face while raising the giant axe and using it to block the purple Shikigami's slash. Stepping away from the two, Naruto summoned a demonic, blood-red sword. Vilgax and Janemba. Nothing I can't handle, he said, taking the sword and pointing it at the purple-skinned Shikigami called Janemba. Naruto, Saratsuya no Mi no Banriro. Lightsaber, he said, and with that a gigantic electric blue ray shot out towards the creature at great speed, making it unable to react and being consumed by the gigantic electricity attack. When the attack ended, the creature had already disappeared, leaving only a few traces of shadows that vanished like the rest. Naruto placed his sword on his shoulder. Don't you have anything better? He said arrogantly. When the old man reached him, thousands of blows in less than 0.1 second collided with his face, sending him flying with his nose broken and bleeding, leaving a hole in the wall. Meteor punch? Seriously. You couldn't use any other technique, he said, fixing his nose with a reverse ritual. Ichizoku, I was seeing it well at the moment, he said when Vilgax launched himself at Naruto, who put his hands in X to block the gigantic fist that sank him even further into the wall, destroying it completely. Naruto's head began to bleed, and he grinned wildly. Vilgax's head flew off with a thud, and Naruto stopped the disappearing body to stand and look at the old man. We continue, he said. Ready, but only received Ichizoku's back as he turned around. No. We're done, you can go, he said, walking away and leaving the blonde. Naruto, we didn't fight for so long that it wouldn't end in a final blow. Do you hear me, old man? He shouted as he followed the old man, who ignored him. Already tired of the young man, the old man turned around and slammed his palm against the blonde's chest, causing him to suddenly open his eyes and return to the real world. What the hell was that? Now it's driving me crazy, he said, huffing in annoyance, still looking the same as before their fight. How the hell did you find me? I asked, looking at Nobara, who was hiding in a tree. I left you a nail. Since my energy was cursed, I managed to track you down, she said, smiling proudly at her ingenuity. Naruto, good way to track someone when you can't sense the cursed energy, he said, and the girl smiled even more proudly. For a sorcerer to use his curse techniques, he needs to feel his own cursed energy in his body and differentiate it from the rest, and since the Nobara nail was infused with his own energy, the girl managed to track it here. The blonde must admit it was ingenious, especially for a first year. Nobara, are you going to tell me your story, or do I have to follow you longer? Naruto sighed. What do you want to hear? Nobara, you're really going to tell me, and I thought it would be a bit more difficult. Okay, how about you tell me about your childhood, before you became a sorcerer, or awakened your innate rituals? Naruto, fine. 2003 birth of the most promising boy of the Zenin clan for being the son of Fugaku and Mikoto, he said with a bit of hatred when mentioning the names, while Kujisaki was very surprised. Wait. Fugaku and Mikoto? The same Fugaku with the blood eyes and Mikoto with the red fire, she said, surprised by the names. They were among the strongest members of the Zenin clan, and although they weren't sorcerers and only trained within the clan, it said that both would have been special grade and first grade sorcerers, respectively. The same ones, they're my parents, he said in a hostile tone. Nobara noticed this and said nothing. Moving on. I was born to the strongest Zenin, as you must know. They had high hopes for me. They wanted me to be like my older brother. My life was normal for the first 6 years of my life. If we ignore the luxuries and attention, I was like a normal child in the clan. Until my 6th birthday. Nobara, the age when Zenin normally awaken their rituals, she said, already understanding. As you might expect, I didn't awaken any rituals, which led to me being isolated and removed from the front lines as one of the young clan representatives. Although normally nothing would change with the clan, that wasn't the case. Instead of simply ceasing to be a great promise or prodigy, my parents took me out of the house, he said seriously. Nobara was surprised. Although Maki had already told her a speculation, she really didn't expect it to be like this. Without caring in the slightest, the clan leaders turned a blind eye, and without a home or food, he wandered around the district eating whatever he could find or helping someone to give me money to buy something at Ichiraku Ramen, which was the place with the cheapest comics and with more nutrients, although not those indicated to grow, but to survive. At my father's request, my training in the anti-threat group was greater than any other child and even adult, he said, remembering how he broke his knuckles hitting a concrete wall without being able to use cursed energy or anything to improve the blow. Until one day, out of the blue, a woman started helping me. I don't remember her name exactly, although I know she was with Kaori. She helped me and even gave me food and drink. Her food was good, but her drinks were bad. They tasted worse than sewer water, he said, laughing as he remembered his reaction to drinking the red liquid the woman with the scar on her forehead gave him. Naruto. After that my life continued the same, until a week after meeting that kind lady. During a training with Naobito I got angrier than usual. My height increased and my appearance became this time. Although I fell unconscious, some of my squad mates said that I literally massacred the old man. Some even said that I used 2 shikigami the size of a house. One was a fox and the other a 3-headed dog, he said happily when Kurama reappeared from his shadow, shorter and resembling a cat. Nobara looked at him in doubt. Can you summon another fox besides the one you summoned that day? She asked in doubt, but something from her conversation with Maki came to mind. Is it the same one? Yes, she said, laughing, stroking the little fox's back, who just stood there enjoying her caresses. Naruto, that's all I lived through, until I awakened my innate technique. After a few months of being praised by the entire clan as if I were a god for awakening a new innate technique, I decided to distance myself from those hypocrites, and decided to go to the Tokyo Metropolitan School. Naruto, although my age was very young, they still accepted me because I had the physical ability and mastery of my techniques enough to be a first year. There I met my friends, Naomi, Shoko, Satoru, and someone else. His name was Geto. He was also Satoru's best friend. Nobara, strange, Gojo-sensei never mentioned it, she said, surprised. Naruto, yes, it's a sensitive subject, I suggest you don't ask, he said, standing up. The rest will be for later, perhaps tomorrow or later. Nobara, okay, now take me home, I'm hungry and it'll be noon. You have your own 2 feet. Don't think I'm your friend just because I tell you a little about my life, he said, standing up to summon his bird shikigami, Fenrir, which he climbed onto. Idiot blonde, she said, annoyed. Climbing onto the bird that took off, causing it to almost fly away, making her forced to grab the blonde. I'm going to fall, idiot. Slow down, she yelled while Naruto smiled. Of course not, just hang in there, he said, smiling as the bird broke the sound barrier and Nobara only held on tighter while growling angrily. I swear I'll hit you with the hammer again, he said, and Naruto smiled at the threat. You can try, he said, and the bird continued flying. In less than 2 minutes, they reached the gates of the Tokyo school. I'll leave you here, crazy brunette, he said, smiling genuinely as his bird began to flap its wings to fly. Look, I really smiled at you. It seems a lady like you deserves it, he said, taking off. Nobara just smiled as she waved goodbye. Goodbye, idiot blonde, she said as Megumi and Yuji left the entrance. Hey, Nobara. We were just going to get some pizza. Where were you? The salmon-haired man asked doubtfully. Nothing important, he said, and they left with the boys. I was just doing some research on Naruto. Megumi, hearing this, looked at her doubtfully. How long did it take you to accept that I wouldn't say anything and then leave? Nobara was offended by that comment. For your information, I did manage to get him to talk. Although it was after nearly killing him by shooting a lightning bolt at him and chasing him to his death throughout the Zenin clan, he did tell me everything about his childhood, she said, proud of her achievement. While Yuji looked at Megumi in confusion. Why do you seem surprised, Fushiguro? The black-haired man looked at him. I met Naruto over 8 years ago, and he never told me anything about his life before meeting me. Even though he was kind to me, he was never open with me or anyone I knew. Sometimes I think he's hiding something, but he ignores it, he said, continuing on his way, and Yuji nodded. Is he really that secretive? He always seems happy and open. I find it hard to believe he'd hide anything. Megumi, that's him, she said, and the trio continued on their way to the nearest pizzeria. Meanwhile, Naruto, leaning back on his Fenrir bird, flew calmly, unafraid of falling. He was so calm because telling the girl about his past was more relaxing than he thought. It really was relaxing. I think he should listen more to the old man. Chapter 6. The blonde could still be seen flying on his Shikigami Fenrir. His flight was calm and peaceful, while the boy lying on his back just stared thoughtfully at the sky. You know, it was really relaxing talking to her. Even when she's crazy. Ichizoku's mouth appeared on his cheek next to his black eye. It wasn't exactly what I wanted you to do, but if it helps you, it's fine. You're still thinking about her, though. Naruto calmly closed his eyes. Now I find her interesting. Beyond her resemblance to Shoko, I could say she's very interesting, he said, sitting down. Ichizoku, if you say so, he said, fading away with a smile. Naruto laughed a little. Sure, old man, he said as the bird sped off and flew out of sight. Later. It was already nighttime, and Nobara, Megumi, and Yuji could be seen walking through a destroyed and abandoned building while Fushiguro held a lantern. Both Yuji and Nobara stood behind Fushiguro in fear. Itadori, Fushiguro, what did you say we were going to do here? He asked nervously as a rat passed by him, making Nobara jump in fear. The Fushiguro rolled his eyes at his friend's fear. There are rumors of a curse that has arisen at the school in the neighborhood. The children there are very scared because Halloween is approaching. Nobara, afraid? Not that kids these days are more into laughter and trick-or-treating, she said while keeping a rat away from her with her feet. The rat just stared at her with its eyes glowing red in the darkness, which scared her. Megumi, it seems that the most popular movies of the last few months left many children terrified. Yuji and Fushiguro. What rank is the curse? He asked as a rat ran over his foot, and Nobara jumped in surprise. Given the deaths and the short time frame, it's at least first degree, but it could be special category if we count the hostages, he said suddenly, stopping, prompting his companions to do the same. What's wrong? Yuji asked, while Nobara wondered the same thing. Until the Fushiguro made a sign and they both nodded seriously. Nobara took out her hammer and 2 nails from her nail holder, while Yuji infused cursed energy into his fists, making them shine, and Megumi made a hand seal resembling a dog, causing a black wolf with white paws to appear. As they were about to attack, a Shikigami worm called Salamander, a 10-meter-long, 50-centimeter-wide worm, appeared from the ground, pinning the trio down. It used its tail to send the wolf flying. Finally, the encounters, said a voice the trio knew. Naruto, I wonder how they escaped the curse. The blond man, in his 8-year-old form and carrying a demonic sword, appeared before the trio. What the hell are you doing here? The young Zenin asked as the salamander disappeared into the shadows, releasing the 3 young men. Nobara, the question is, what are you doing here, you blonde idiot? Naruto, me? It's my mission, crazy chestnut. They both looked at each other seriously, while Yuji and Megumi watched their interaction with strangeness. Yuji, your mission? It's ours. We have to find the hostages the curse captured. It's said there are more than 150 children, said the salmon-haired man while kicking a rat. Naruto, my mission is to end the curse. So technically they're not the same. Although they should have warned me they were coming, so there wouldn't be any confusion, he said calmly as he placed his demonic sword on his shoulder. Nobara, so what? We're just looking for survivors, and you're going after the curse? That's unfair, she said angrily at the blonde, who only seemed to be mocking. Naruto. Difference in rank, difference in privileges, he said as a surgical shadow appeared, and from there the Mekari triplets. If you want, you can go with me and they can go with your friends, so I can help them get the Reins out. Nobara, wanting to spend time with me after being gone all morning? Naruto rolled his eyes at Kujisaki's words. No way, I'm going to destroy the curse. You want to see the curse? We both do what we want, and everyone would be happy. That's true. Besides, the Shikigami would be good for us, of course, if it's the 150 children you mentioned, Fushiguro said as his wolf disappeared into the shadows. Go, Nobara. We'll take care of it, he said, and Nobara smiled. Sure, he said, smiling. Naruto made the hand seal for his Fenrir bird, which appeared, and he climbed on it. What are you doing? Kujisaki asked. Because of the cursed energy, the cursed spirit is on the roof, the hostages are 2 floors above, she said, settling into the bird. Get on, or the curse might escape when it senses us coming, she said, and Nobara jumped onto the bird. Good. Let's go, I shouted happily while Naruto just snorted. Don't move too much, I won't come back for you if you fall, he said, and the bird flew out one of the windows, leaving Fushiguro and Itadori behind, who, along with the Makaris triplets, continued toward the nearest stairs. With Naruto and Nobara. Both of them were already on the roof, and Nobara and little Naruto got off the bird, which disappeared into the shadows. Gripping his sword firmly, Naruto looked at the ceiling and frowned. Domain expansion? But why? We've only just entered, why expand their domain so early in the battle? He wondered as he looked at what looked like a haunted house with typical Halloween designs and a dead tree with bats flying around. Sometimes I'm surprised by the detail of the domain, he said, looking at everything. Even though they're just designs, they don't contribute anything to the domain, he said, making a hand seal, and from there his mono-tailed, snake-like Shikigami appeared, the size of a gorilla. Naruto, crush everything that isn't important, and Nobara, he said, bordering while the girl got angry at his bad joke. Nobara, hey! I'm very important. More than you, she said angrily, and the little blonde just smiled. If you say so? They both stopped, when at that moment a type of scythe slashed Naruto's shoulder, which he hadn't even noticed. What the hell? When? He thought, worried about the cut on his shoulder. Acting quickly, he used the reverse ritual to heal himself, but surprisingly, in an instant the new Shikigami exploded from the cuts he suffered from the scythe that continued to fly around him without attacking. Is he trying to play with us? Why destroy the curse instead of the summoner? He thought as his cut was already healing. Nobara, you must know we're in a domain, right? If you know how to do it, activate a simple domain or you'll die at the first cut, she said, but she didn't finish when the scythe tried to cut the brown-haired girl who tried to move, but still received a cut on her chest that made her bleed. Nobara, arg! The brunette spat blood from the cut as she fell vulnerable to the ground. Spinning, the scythe was about to finish off Kujisaki, but a dry glow drained Nobara's life, tired of the wound. When the glow disappeared, they were already in the curse's domain. The area changed to a dark, black place. The only thing present was Naruto in his adult form with Nobara on his shoulder, and the curse in front of him, staring at him. The curse had a sinister appearance. Its body was that of a possible skeleton covered by a torn blue robe, its head was a pumpkin with deep black eyes and a giant, eerie smile and yellow teeth that would have come from a psychopath. If the blonde was asked his opinion, Naruto would say that the thing was the personification of Halloween, or the closest thing he could get. Even with such a fragile and new domain, my domain 1. That means you're no big deal, he said, smiling as Kujisaki blushed at the position she was in. Can't talk? Too bad. I wanted to hear your screams. With that, he made a hand seal that activated the technique. Domain expansion, 100 sword killer. He said as hundreds of swords flew from the ground, and with a hand seal, all the swords began to move towards the curse which, without the possibility of doing anything because it was in a domain with a sure hit, began to be riddled with no possibility of even screaming, until a sword ended up in its head, easily splitting it in half, letting the creature fall to the ground, causing a type of purple fire to cover it and the cursed spirit to disappear. With the curse over, Naruto broke his hold, causing the barrier to be destroyed, and lowered Kujisaki from his shoulder, who was blushing from the position she was in a few minutes ago, more so because the blonde had a tight hold on her, and it seemed like he wouldn't let go for anything. Don't put me there again, blonde idiot, she said angrily, crossing her arms while looking away with her cheeks burning. Zenin just rolled his eyes, not noticing the girl's reaction. I saved your life. Well, almost. We should treat that wound or you'll die, he said, and Kujisaki looked at the wound under her breasts, or more precisely, above her stomach. The wound wasn't that deep. The curse seemed to want to make them suffer more than kill them. It was her mistake not to kill them in her first move. Nobara, I was hoping you could do something to heal me, or I'm going to die, and since you're the special grade, everything falls under your jurisdiction, she said, looking at her wound. Naruto, take it off. What? I asked, blushing and even more nervous. Take it off. I want you to take off your shirt, he said, as a hand seal revealed a doll-like Shikigami. The Shikigami looked like a doctor, and had a tail tied to the blonde's ponytail. What the hell is that? She shouted, leaving her blush and getting scared when she saw the giant doll. Naruto, it's one of my curse techniques. Since I can't heal anyone with my reverse ritual, I created it. It's not the same, but it can do fantastic things like close cuts, he said while the doll looked at Nobara, who was frightened by the look. That thing isn't going to touch me. I'd rather die, she said, while Naruto sighed, rolling his eyes at Kujisaki's actions, but smiled inwardly at how Uchiha reacted the first time he tried to heal her with her doll. Nothing will happen to you, and it's our best option. I doubt you'll live until another sorcerer who knows the reverse technique comes to help, he said, and Nobara crossed her arms. She's just too ugly. A clear offender, he concluded nervously, staring at the doll, which looked at him with that calm, smiling face. Naruto started laughing at Nobara's comment, who looked at him angrily. The doll isn't alive. It's controlled by me and can't think beyond what I think, he said, and Nobara sighed, letting go of her anger. She really didn't like that thing, although she still didn't want it to touch her. At least it wasn't more than the blonde's help. Wait. I don't want it to touch me either, Red thought. Fine, but don't look. Pervert. Naruto just snorted. He would never look at a woman without her permission. Kujisaki finally took off her blue and white shirt, leaving her in her bra. Naruto looked across the building as the doll began to heal her wound. Wait! Nobara shouted, holding Naruto back, who was confused. Huh? What's going on? The Zenin asked without turning around. Nobara, well, not that I care, but will this thing leave scars? You know, a big ugly scar? She asked while Naruto's sweat dropped, and forgetting about Nobara's nudity he turned around. You care more about the scars than your 6-. He trailed off when he saw the girl and, blushing a little, turned around. I'm sorry, he said, embarrassed, while Nobara, who was also blushing, said nothing. Answering your question. It won't leave a scar. My ability can create tissue threads and regenerate cells. It passes through the cursed energy to heal, he said, eliciting a sigh from Nobara, who was still red-faced from the situation. Good, begin, she said, raising her hands and letting the doll's small fingers begin their work. The fingers began to stitch the wound, but instead of using normal thread, it was a glowing blue thread proving to be cursed energy. That's all right, the blonde said as the doll disappeared and Nobara began to put on her white shirt. You can turn around now, he said, finishing his white shirt. As he flew, Naruto barely caught a glimpse of the girl's bra as she finished buttoning her shirt. Placing his Buddha doll at his side, he took his blue shirt and placed it on his shoulder while Naruto stood beside him. It's time to go. Yuji and Megumi evacuated all the hostages and are out of the building, he said, looking from the edge of the building. I'll see you down below, if you have the courage, he said. And without hesitation, he jumped. Nobara, seeing this, will be surprised. Worried, she was about to look over the shore when Naruto flew by on Fenrir, causing her to fall backward. Are you crazy? She shouted angrily while the blonde just laughed softly. How did you think of jumping from here, let alone leaving me here alone? Don't complain. I didn't go below 10 meters when I summoned Fenrir. And I clearly wasn't going to forget you. I'm not that crazy, he said, smiling as his age changed to that of an 8-year-old boy again. Shall we go? The brunette glared at him, and the blonde looked at her with a smile. Yeah. You can't get mad over such a small joke. I barely fell for it. Don't tell me you're worried about me. Of course not, idiot, she responded angrily. I just didn't want to be stuck here. You're my only transportation, she said, crossing her arms. The blonde just shrugged. His point was logical, and it was something the brunette would consider. Naruto, if you say so, of course. We'd better go. They're going to demolish this building in 2 hours, and I don't want to be here when that happens. Do you? Nobara, of course not, so hurry up. And you have to buy me another shirt, because it's covered in blood, she said, looking at his white shirt while the blue one was on his shoulder. She didn't want to get it dirty too. Sure, I can buy you one early in the morning, he said without interest. While Nobara smiled and jumped on top of the eagle's shikigami, which began to fly through the darkness of the night, which was illuminated by the lights of Tokyo. Naruto, don't fall, crazy brunette, he said mockingly as he dived down, causing Nobara to almost fly away, barely managing to grab onto the blonde's shirt as it made a noise. I hate you. Hours later. I hope you have a good reason for calling me counsel. It's 10 p.m., and I have a mission at 9 a.m. I can't lose my sleep with you, he said as he entered a place filled with doors and shadows on the other side, proving there were people inside. This place was where the leaders of jujutsu met, both to talk with sorcerers and to talk among themselves. You shouldn't talk like that to the Zenin Sorcery Council, Naruto. Your special rank is on a very weak thread, said the shadow in the center, earning a snap of his teeth from the blonde, who looked about 8 years old. As if they could, he said calmly. That seemed to bother one of the shadows on the right who spoke. We have enough evidence to demote you to a 4th-grade sorcerer. Naruto became interested. Yeah? Like what? He asked with interest. He really found those points that could lower his special rank interesting. One of the shadows seemed to smile and spoke. 8 years ago, you failed to kill the special rank sorcerer Suguru Geto when you had the chance. You are suspected of aiding Suguru Geto in the village extermination 8 years ago. You let a special rank curse slip due to your distraction less than a week ago. You broke your promise to kill Okatsuyuda if he released his curse, Rika, a year ago. And you interfered with Gojo's team's mission tonight. Naruto. Hey what, wait there! Don't interfere in any mission, I just mistook you for the hostages, and also helped them with my Macaris triplets, he said annoyed, crossing his arms. The shadow on the left seemed to nod. We know about your help, but that's not what we're talking about. Bringing a novice 3rd-grade sorcerer to fight a 1st-grade or special-grade curse is a huge mistake, especially for a special-grade sorcerer. Naruto, she was the one who wanted to fight the curse, so I made a change that would benefit everyone in her mission, he said calmly while yawning sleepily. He already wanted this to be over. Even if it's all true. They know taking away my special rank wouldn't benefit anyone. In addition to losing a special rank because I've possibly stopped being a sorcerer. The threat made the shadows frown. I would also no longer be under their control, because accept it, the special rank is more of a way of controlling than giving a rank to the strongest. They did it to me when I learned my first domain expansion, they did it to Saturo when he made his unlimited automatic, and they did it to Yuta for Rika. Taking away my rank is giving me so much freedom that they couldn't control me. The shadows were angry at that. Even though it was true, the boy seemed very confident to them. The shadow in the center was irritating when I spoke. Well, you're still in our power, and we can punish you with more than just stripping you of your rank, he said with mockery in his voice. Naruto narrowed his eyes. They do what I think they want, and I kill them, he said seriously. But Ichigo banished any attempt at intimidation the blonde had made earlier, and he rubbed his sleepy eyes. The shadow on the right laughed, and the blonde man got angry like a child, but he didn't throw a tantrum about his dream. Starting tomorrow, you'll follow a schedule like all lower-ranking sorcerers. You'll no longer be able to hunt curses whenever and wherever you want. Your missions will be from 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And you'll have to team up with other lower-ranking sorcerers, he said in a very cruel voice. He knew the younger Zenin and knew this would be a good punishment for the rebellious Zenin. Naruto. I hate them, he said angrily. I just wait for the day when their political power isn't enough to command them. That day I'll tear their heads off millimeter by millimeter with my sword, he thought as he turned around and left the dark, strange place with a sleepy look. He would have complained more, but his tiredness was too much at the moment. After all, they woke him up in the middle of his sleep, and in his now form, he wasn't usually an early riser. Naruto. I'll think about his punishment tomorrow, he said while making a hand seal. Kurama appeared, larger than a horse. With that, he let himself fall asleep in the air while falling into the super fluffy tails of the fox, who began to run through the streets towards the rooms of the Tokyo Metropolitan School. Chapter 7. We're at Tokyo Metropolitan High School. More specifically, in the student dorms of this witchcraft institute. In one of the dorms, Naruto Zenin was sleeping peacefully with his fox Shikigami, Kurama, curled up beside him like a canine. Tiririn! 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 Boom! A crash was heard as the Uzumaki smashed the alarm clock, which still had the 6 a.m. hologram on it. The Zenin was no longer the little Naruto. He had taken on his 20-year-old appearance, only instead of his kimono, he had red pajamas with fox prints, and his hair was a loose mess. Naruto. Is it morning already? I just barely fell asleep, he whispered sleepily as he lifted his upper body and rubbed his eyes, searching for a way to get the sleep out of his system. Stupid bags of bones. If it weren't for that stupid Saturo, I would have ripped out their tongues already, he thought, annoyed, getting out of bed and heading to the bathroom. The only reason he left those old people alive and put up with them was for the Gojo. The man told him he wouldn't do anything unless he dealt with him. Did he care about the threat? No. Hell, he didn't even consider her when he thought about killing the elders. He only did it out of respect for the man who had been his friend since he entered the jujutsu school over 8 years ago. Although if one day, on impulse or by choice, he killed the elders and the Gojo tried something, he wouldn't mind in the least fighting Saturo. They were friends, but that didn't mean he would obey him in every way. He knew what he was doing, and if one day he killed them, it would be because he wanted to, and he likes to defend his ideals and actions. Naruto, goodbye, Kurama, he said as he left, leaving the fox still sleeping peacefully, its tails moving freely in a calm and harmonious pattern. But even so, one tail bid farewell to the blonde who had already left. With that, the blonde man walked down the hallway and saw Toge also coming out of his room. Further behind him, Fushiguro also quietly left his room. Hello, Inumaki, he greeted the white-haired man, who raised his hand in the same way. Salmon. Narutomaki with rice? He said calmly. Yes. I have to get up earlier than usual. But you know orders, he said calmly. Megumi, who heard the voices, raised her eyebrows. Since when do you follow orders? She asked doubtfully. Since I got punished, he said, a little annoyed, closing his door. Fushiguro understood. Does this have to do with taking Nobara on the mission? Naruto assented. Just a little, but it's also because of things from the past, he said calmly. Don't tell Nobara, or she'll start to get upset about it. Yes. They can be very demanding sometimes, he said calmly, finishing closing his room and walking down the hall with the Zenin, who was sipping from a cup of coffee he'd grabbed from the kitchen a moment ago. "We'll talk later. I have to start my shift," he said, saying goodbye to both boys and heading to the place where he'd be given his shift's missions. "Naruto, okay. Let's start with the useless missions," he said, looking at the list of places where there were curses. Although they were all first and second grade, none of them seemed important to him. "Well, let's go in order," he said and left the school. Hours later, the blond man was seen walking through a strangely empty paintball range. He didn't give much thought to the fact that no one was there, as it was beneficial to him, allowing him to finish his last errand of the day peacefully. Raising his hand, a sort of black barrier fell from the sky, causing the entire area to become separated from the rest of the world, and the sun to darken slightly. "Good. Time to begin," he said, making a hand seal. 10 Shadow Innate Technique, Wild Beasts. Macaris Triplets, he said, revealing his 3 blue-mouthed shadows. 10 Shadow Innate Technique, Wild Beasts. Salamander, he repeated, and his multi-eyed worm appeared. "Cast off all the cursed spirits, regardless of rank," he said, and began walking around the surrounding area as his worm entered the ground and the triplets separated in 3 different places. "Good. Where is it?" he thought, looking around until his gaze fell on the woods beside the field. Leaving his Shikigami, who were carrying out a massacre with the 4th and 3rd degree curses, he began walking deeper into the forest. "I hate playing hide-and-seek. It's always the same, they only rebel when they hit me," he thought, looking to the side, where he could see the back of a spider, but a very large one. "But not this time," he thought, smiling. Placing his left hand forward, a lightning bow appeared in his hand. When he stretched the lightning string, a lightning bolt appeared in the form of an arrow. "Curse technique. Arrow of Susanoo," he said, and in a blue flash, the arrow shot out at lightning speed, piercing the tree and seemingly pierced the cursed man's head, who fell inert to the ground. "Like that, but the arrow is like Sukuna's." The blond man calmly approached the creature on the ground and looked at it. The creature had the yellow underside of a spider, while its upper body was similar to that of a human, only it was a somewhat dead color and looked scruffy. From its shape, it appeared to be a woman, but with 2 blades in each hand and a strange ponytail on its head. "Naruto, how strange. It doesn't disappear," he thought, looking at the creature that had technically been exorcised. Or so he thought when the cursed corpse exploded, covering his vision, leaving no reaction to a black spider leg that stabbed him in the stomach. "Oh, such a cute wizard? Who would have thought he'd die so quickly?" The blonde spat out blood as the paw dug deeper into his chest, crossing through to the other side, piercing him completely. The blonde looked up as his eyes sang of the curse that exploded, only now it was mostly black and gray with a red line running through it. The human part had pale skin like a vampire's, his hair was white, and he wore a pink sleeveless jacket. "What the hell? I pierced your head," he said, snapping the cursed leg off with a swipe, which began to regenerate. Blood trickled from the corner of his lip from the spider's stab wound. "I wasn't even born when you attacked me. I'd barely finished eating the body that gave me this power," he said, smiling cruelly, while Naruto looked to where the spider had been and saw a half-eaten body. "How could a single body have made her evolve to a higher rank? That's impossible," he thought as he drew his demonic sword from his shadow. "Fine, we must find out." The curse seemed to know what he was going to try. Suddenly, a spider web shot out of the curse's mouth toward Naruto, who was surprised by the speed of the attack. Reacting in time, he dodged out of the way, letting the webs fall to the ground, which began to smoke as if it were melting. "Acid web?" he wondered, but had to push it aside to dodge another web attack that landed on his right hand, instantly freezing his fist into an ice cube. Naruto, thoughts acid and now ice? He couldn't keep thinking when another web attack was launched towards him and colliding with his chest, he received a great shock of electricity that made him scream in pain. "Ah!" Smoking, he fell to the ground in pain. The curse, smiling cruelly, approached Naruto's dart, but at that moment the curse worm emerged from its dream, so large it could fit a house into its mouth. It tried to devour the curse, but was suddenly cut into 3 pieces. What? Impossible, how could he cut it? He asked himself, surprised. But a glow in front of his face answered him. In front of his face, millimeters from touching it, was a super thin thread, and by enhancing his vision with cursed energy, he could see thousands more threads that were connected to the back of the spider curse. Have you noticed? One false move and you'll die, he said, smiling cruelly. Naruto, without saying anything, stopped and raised his hands in surrender. My technique is based on lightning. I can manipulate it at will, giving me the ability to even cover myself with it or make my reaction higher by sending electromagnetic pulses to my nerves. Although there is a problem, my technique does not make me immune to lightning, allowing any water user to cause my own lightning to damage me. The curse was confused by that. Why are you explaining your technique to him so suddenly? He asked, and Naruto smiled. Binding contract. Explaining my technique to the enemy makes them so powerful they can overcome the incantation attack without even uttering it. So, can you imagine how powerful they'll be by incantating the attack? The curse was frightened and angered by this. You're a bastard! Nya said, causing all the almost invisible threads to head toward the Zenin, who was smiling at the situation. And disappearing in an electric blue flash, he appeared behind the curse with his sword in hand. Naruto, Sarah! Stop! The curse said, launching a web that Naruto dodged as it exploded into fire. Dashed Tsuyu! He said, pointing the sword at the curse that launched more acidic web at the Zenin who dodged it. Dash Nomi! He said while in fear. The curse was covered with a lot of cobweb that raised a super-resistant metal wall. Dash no! Now the blonde smiled as he stood in front of the metal cocoon and placed the sword at point-blank range towards the curse. Naruto, Banrural! With that, a gigantic blue lightning bolt assaulted the curse's refuge, mercilessly consuming everything in its path, disintegrating the entire curse refuge with her inside, disintegrating every atom of the curse that I only asked to scream. As the attack ended, the Zenin smiled at the line of devastation created by the attack, which even destroyed his own barrier, leaving the sky and surroundings as they were before. Hiss! That was an attack! Ichizoku's mouth said, appearing in Naruto's hand, who was smiling as he looked at his combination. Naruto, I bet it never occurred to you to combine the binding contract of technique revelation with the attack incantations, no. In my time, binding contracts didn't exist yet. And expansions were a barrier more advanced than normal curtains, he said, and Naruto became confused. That must have been difficult. I can't imagine fighting without the surefire hit of a barrier, he said, reactivating the reverse ritual technique he deactivated to perform the combined super attack. With that, the blonde headed toward the paintball field, but was surprised to see that it, along with the entire curtain, had been completely destroyed by his previous attack. Do you think the elders will be upset about this? Ichizoku, you say it or you ask. Naruto's sweat dropped. It was just collateral damage, they can't punish me for that, he said as his Mekuro triplets appeared, all with cursed blood slowly disappearing. Collateral damage from a technique that didn't need to be used, he said, and Naruto just snorted and began petting the triplet Shikigami. There's still collateral damage, he said, smiling at the 3 Shikigami. Okay, guys. Now go back, he said, and the 3 creatures of darkness disappeared into shadows. An hour later, the blonde man, who was already leaving the jujutsu school after completing his mission, sighed as he returned to his child form. Hey, old man, do you know why that curse managed to evolve to special rank just by eating a human? I asked doubtfully. Well, from what I felt about that curse, that human I ate was compatible with me. Naruto stopped at that. What? Ichizoku appeared on her cheek. Yes. Curses become stronger upon consuming a cursed object, and that curse happened to consume a human who was compatible with me and therefore was half a cursed object. Now that you mention it, what cursed object were you? She said doubtfully. I just hope it's not a finger, or that means I ate a finger at some point in my life, she said, trembling at the thought. Ichizoku laughed at that. No. I became a cursed object because of my blood. I turned a small amount of my blood into a cursed object, making my soul stay in every drop of blood. Naruto nodded, but then turned green. That means I drank your dash. No, he interrupted, and Naruto sighed. A portion of my blood that transformed into a cursed object was spread throughout the world, causing almost every human in Japan to have my blood within a few centuries. So if anyone can bear my soul, it would awaken my consciousness in their mind. Naruto, so that means blood is in every living thing? Something like that, admitted the elder Zenin. Naruto, that won't be a problem? I mean, your blood in every living being won't cause genetic problems or anything like that, will it? No. When a person isn't compatible with me, my blood goes into a kind of sleep so as not to interfere with anything in the human being. It will only pass to the next generation without altering their DNA. Although it can cause problems in people who are compatible with me, she said with some hesitation. But that's only less than 100 each century, and you're one of them. And possibly more than half of the others are dead. Naruto, and why would they be dead? Let's just say they're very attractive to curses, so much so that they'd rather leave 1,000 humans alive just to get the one they're compatible with, he said as Naruto put the key in the handle of his room. Naruto whistled at that. They're certainly attractive, he said, smiling as he entered his room and saw the fox sleeping in his bed. Tired, the Zenin lay down next to the fox to sleep peacefully. When suddenly, her cell phone rang, eliciting a sigh from her. Lifting the phone to her face, she hesitantly saw an unknown number, and, wondering who it was, answered. Hello? Stranger, hey idiot, when are you going to take me shopping? My uniform is really damaged because of you, are you forgetting? Naruto's sweat dropped. First of all, may I at least know who he spoke to? He asked, raising his upper body. I'm Nobara. Have you forgotten that you gave me your number? Said Nobara, making Naruto's sweat drop trying to remember that fact. Now I remember. What do you want, crazy chestnut? I want you to come buy my new uniform. The other one is covered in blood because of you. Naruto moved the cell phone away from his ear in annoyance. Naruto, I will. Just stop screaming so loud, he said, rubbing the bridge of his nose tiredly, both from sleep and from Kujisaki's annoyance. Okay. Mall in 10 minutes, he said to the approaching boy. I'll see you there, he said, hanging up his phone and lying down. But he stopped when he heard the phone ring. 10 minutes. I remember, he said, standing up and heading to the bathroom. Chapter 8. We met at the supermarket, where an angry Kijisaki Nobara was waiting for the Zenin, who had been almost 30 minutes late. The angry girl was wearing something unusual for her. She was wearing a long-sleeved jacket, tight-fitting pants, and shoes. Nobara, why is that blonde idiot taking so long? She thought, annoyed by the Zenin's delay. The girl looked at her watch impatiently and angrily, thinking about hitting the Zenin as soon as he entered her sights. I don't even know why I thought he'd actually come, since he seemed to be sleeping when I called him. He's probably still sleeping. I thought I'd bother the blonde. His violent thoughts towards the age-changing Zenin stopped when he heard gasps. He thought. Paying attention to her surroundings again, the girl gasped, as did all the girls around her. Why? The answer was a blond man with hair bathed in the same sunshine and eyes as clear as spring water, entering her field of vision, along with longer-than-normal fangs adorning his brilliant smile. He also had 3 imperceptible but noticeable whisker marks on each side of the blond man's cheek, who, to many of the women in the mall, must have been a deity. The boy, who appeared to be about 17 or 18, walked through the crowd wearing a white shirt and a black leather jacket over it. Around his neck was a necklace with a blue stone that shone, catching the faint rays of sunlight that fell upon it. His pants were long black jeans and tall, biker-style boots. Naruto arrived at Nobara's side, who was looking at him in surprise. The only reason Kujisaki recognized the Zenin was the fluffy nine-tailed fox wrapped around his neck. You are Dash. Naruto surprisingly found the blondes acting cute. Yes. It's my true form, he said smiling, causing Nobara to blush. She was about to speak but was stopped by the blonde. Don't worry, crazy brunette, many will react like this when they see me in this appearance. he said, making Nobara blush even more because the blonde knew what she would talk about. Naruto, so, where do we go first, you lunatic? At the question, Nobara coughed into her hand to calm her now gigantic, atomic blushes at the stud in front of her. Damn! I know Maki-senpai said it would be hotter than his fake form, but this is on another level, she thought, causing amusement in Naruto. Thanks for the insane compliment. Even though I don't consider myself hot, I'm touched that you think that about me, he said with a strangely sincere, non-mocking tone, which didn't contrast with his old demeanor when he was in his fake appearance. Nobara blushed even more. Why, you read my mind? She asked, blushing. Naruto firmly confirmed what Kujisaki had said. Oh, I feel so embarrassed now. Why the hell did I have to be so horny? She thought angrily. Naruto's sweat dropped as he became confused. It wasn't the first time a girl acted like this because of his real appearance. Hell, she wasn't even number 8, but he could tell Nobara was the one who was most affected by it, so to speak. Come on, it's not that big of a deal. I like you more when we make fun of each other. Her attempt to get the girl to stop blushing seemed to be working. Nobara coughed into her hand again, calmer. Don't just ask for something like that, she said, starting to walk away. Even less so when you're so horny. She thought ahead of herself this time. Naruto, who heard those stimulating thoughts again, followed her. Hey, Kurama, he called to the fox on his neck. Can you go deal with that for me? He asked the fox politely, who seemed to nod. When it jumped off his neck, it began to grow to the size of a dog and ran off. With that, the boy followed Kujisaki to the store where the girl would buy her new jujutsu uniform. Why do you still think I'm hot? Not even Uchiha thought that much about it when I first showed you this look. A few minutes later, Naruto was seen sitting on a seat that was in front of a dressing room where Nobara was. Hey, idiot blonde. Yes? Chestnut, he answered hesitantly. Nobara, why do you use a fake appearance when your true appearance is? Naruto understood. It's because of some things that happened 10 years ago. I could tell you about it later, he said, smiling. Nobara, on the other side of the curtain, moved forward hesitantly while continuing to change her clothes. Another question. Why, if both appearances are like you at 18, are they so different? I mean, you said you controlled your age. Not your appearance. Naruto thought for a moment. That's a good question. But it's private, I couldn't tell you here. Maybe later, he said again. Nobara got annoyed and reached over the curtain to look directly at the sky-blue-eyed blonde. Hey, I just hope that maybe later isn't to get away from me. Because if I have to chase you all over the Zenin district again, I will. Naruto gave a small, sweet chuckle at that. Naruto, no, there are no loves, he said sincerely, but he continued smiling. To stop you worrying, I'll tell you a little here, he said calmly. I can control my age and appearance. But I can only control my age downwards, and a little upwards. Nobara was confused. So you can only decrease it? She asked. I could also increase it, but a maximum of 5 years older than I am. I can also spend it making it so I don't age, he said calmly. And what I'm using isn't an age enhancement, it's a change in appearance, making me technically still my 8-year-old self, but with an older body. Wait. Does that mean you were still a kid when the lightning bolt hit you? I asked in surprise, rising again over the curtain. Naruto, yeah? Something like that. He nodded. Nobara, lucky you didn't die. Besides being known as the one who killed her classmate, she would also be known as the one who killed an 8-year-old. Naruto irritated. Technically, that's how you'd be known, he said amusedly. Even if you'd only have killed me in your dreams, crazy woman, he said amusedly. When, at that moment, Nobara opened the curtain, revealing her clothing, it wasn't exactly what the Zenin expected. Not even close. Her clothing consisted of a long-sleeved yellow shirt. A high-neck dress that protruded over the yellow shirt, the dress reached her thighs, hugging them, revealing her hourglass body, very pleasing to the eye. The blonde man was confused by Kujisaki's outfit. Didn't we come to buy you a new jujutsu school uniform? Nobara assented. Yes, but I also take advantage and buy these things. They say they're trendy, she said, turning around. So? Naruto the mirror with doubt. So what? Nobara's sweat dropped. I look so stupid. The blonde man thought for a moment. As always, he replied mockingly. No, I'm just kidding. You look beautiful, he said, giving a thumbs up in approval. Nobara felt proud of the blonde Zenin's compliment. Good. Are we going now, crazy woman? She asked, standing up from her seat. Nobara, no. There are still some left. You wait here, she said, heading back into the locker room. Naruto shrugged and sat back down. Even though I'm free, I can't wait for you forever, you crazy brunette, he said, but a finger of friendship, middle finger, stuck out from behind the curtain, and the blonde smiled. Nobara, are you ready? She asked, but didn't wait for an answer when she came out and let Naruto see her new look. It consisted of a simple, yet beautiful long black dress that reached her legs. The dress had a slit on the side of her right foot, allowing it to stick out from the fabric, along with black heels with high insoles. In her hand she had a black bag that went with her black dress. Nobara got angry seeing the blonde Zenin's face of disbelief. Naruto came out of shock when he started writing something in a notebook in his hand. Regretfully, he raised it and revealed the number 9.5, which made Nobara's sweat drop. Where did you get that from? Idiot, she asked, and Naruto smiled. I'll take it from there, he said, pointing to the next aisle. Remember, we're in a mall. They sell a lot of things here, he said, amused. Nobara, you know you can't use products you won't buy. That's illegal. Naruto ignored him. Don't worry, I'll pay later, he said, turning the page and following the other. Next. Kuchisaki rolled her eyes at him for the Zenin's nonsense. Nobara, now you're going to classify my outfits? Yep. The answer made Nobara even more upset. Fine, I just hope you do it right, idiot, she said, amused. Heading back inside, Naruto prepared for the next outfit, which arrived in a few minutes. Kuchisaki emerged with a new look once again. This time a black sleeveless, high-neck t-shirt with a collar. Her pants were long and baggy, but fitted at the hips, revealing her amazing figure. She wore a black belt to accompany the pants. Over the sleeveless t-shirt was a light brown jacket that reached below her knees, with black and white stripes. Naruto snorted as he held up the notebook again, showing a 9. It fits you perfectly, but the jacket ruins your beauty even though it's perfect next to everything else, he said, like a professional critic would say. Nobara, you're taking it seriously, blonde. Naruto adjusted his glasses, which Nobara didn't know where he'd gotten them from. If I'm going to do something, I like to do it well. Now, the pants are very much your style. I like how they look with this sleeveless, high-neck shirt. The jacket also looks perfect, although it spoils your own beauty a little. That's why I gave it my rating, he said, readjusting his glasses. Okay, let's continue. Nobara fell silent. She began to laugh at the blonde's actions. The blonde joined her in his boisterous laughter, which he couldn't contain. Nobara, you should have seen yourself acting like that. You looked like one of those critics of questionable taste. Naruto continued to laugh a little. Hey, you have to admit, they turned out pretty good. I really have a future in this, even Sebri. No, the short one would be Nobara. Naruto, but he didn't even finish speaking. And so with a drop of sweat. If you were going to say you have a future as a critic, I'll hit you. Naruto's sweat dropped comically. Naruto, I wasn't going to say it, that's clear. He lied with his arms crossed. Nobara looked at him, still deadly serious. I hope so, he said, still staring at the Zenin, who already seemed nervous due to the girl's murderous glare. Naruto. Hey! Don't you have any more clothes to show? He said, nervously seeing the brunette's crazy look. The girl stopped looking at him and returned to the curtain when Naruto let out the breath he was holding. Yes, she's crazy, Ichizoka's mouth said in Naruto's face, who touched it with his hand, but it only caused the mouth to come out in the blonde's hand, which made him angry. Come in now, they'll discover you, he said, his mouth smiling. Don't worry. I was just going to tell you that Kurama is over. said the old man's mouth, and Naruto nodded. Fine, but come in now or Nobara will notice. Or will I realize what? I asked, leaving the hallway with hesitation. Reacting quickly, Naruto touched Ikazuka's mouth to cover it and smiled falsely. Naruto. Don't worry, it's nothing important, he said again nervously, and this time he wasn't playing with it. The blonde looked nervous and unaware that he had another look again. It was a black long-sleeved shirt, a fake one that went from his waist to below his knees and low platform heels with white stockings. And finally, on his right shoulder he had a red bag. Naruto, why it looks great on you, he said, whistling to divert the girl's attention from what he said before. Meanwhile, Nobara looked at the Zenin with doubt. Was he already going crazy? Yes, that must be it. Controlling his age must give him some kind of side effects from going crazy, like what happens to the elderly and their delusions about age. Nobara. You're helping me out, very strange, she said, narrowing her eyes in suspicion, but I brushed it aside. It doesn't matter. How does it look on me? She asked, turning around and letting the blonde appreciate her figure. Naruto calmed down and saw Ikazuka disappear from his hand. He began to write. 8.3, that's perfect, he said, nodding in agreement. The girl's sweat dropped at the Zenin's remarks. If she didn't know better, she'd say Naruto was suffering from dementia. Nobara, good. We're done. Naruto sighed at hearing that, but that vanished when Nobara continued her sentence. With half the costumes on, we're left with half. Naruto fell backward because of that. Hey! I can't stay here forever, I have better things to do, he said angrily, looking at Nobara, who just gave him the middle finger, of friendship again without caring about his opinion, and went back into the lobby. Naruto, this is going to take a long time. Bored thinking. Minutes later. Both Naruto and Nobara could be seen leaving the mall. The latter, who already had her old outfit, walked calmly while eating some kind of vanilla ice cream. Meanwhile, the former, Naruto, was the one carrying all of Kujisaki's purchases. The blonde man looked angry as he walked, forced by the discomfort of carrying so many objects. I don't know how you convinced me to carry all this. Nobara turned around to sneer. What can I say? I have my charm, she said, amused. Naruto just snorted mockingly. Really? Well, you should start showing it, since I don't see any in you. Nobara frowned at that blow. I have more charm than you, but that your ugly face can't appreciate it isn't my problem, she said, smiling mockingly at the blonde, who was also smiling worse with a tick on his forehead, until a memory came to mind. That's not what I saw a few hours ago. You seemed so in love with me, I could have sworn you thought of me as hot. About 40 times today, he said, smiling victoriously. Nobara snorted as if she didn't remember what she was talking about. I think your mind-reading ability is broken. I never thought that about you. Naruto raised an eyebrow mockingly. Really? I can swear you thought, let me remember. Like, damn. I know Maki-senpai said it would be hotter than her fake form, but this is on another level. Kujisaki blushed at the blonde's imitation of her. I don't talk like that, she shouted angrily, causing Naruto to laugh. No. But you did say that. No, I didn't. You're going crazy, he said, crossing his arms. Are you sure? I say you did it, he said, angering Nobara, who approached. Nobara, and I say no. Naruto, and I know. And I don't know. At this point, both of them were staring at each other, their faces very close. Seeing the situation, Naruto took the opportunity to mock Nobara even more. Are you sure? Now it seems like you're trying to take advantage of the moment and kiss me. Nobara got angry and impulsively tried to hit the Zenin's most intimate parts, who luckily for all the gods managed to react to Kujisaki's low blow. Hey, there's something very sacred there, you can't hurt them, he said mockingly as he got closer to Nobara's face, who was still looking at him angrily, and the blonde was still holding her leg with his right hand. Meanwhile, all the bags that had fallen from the blonde's now free hands slowly entered Naruto's shadow until they disappeared. No one except Nobara noticed. You're an idiot, blonde, she said, annoyed. The blonde man smiled. And you're a crazy brunette, he replied, smiling. They both remained in that position for a few minutes. Until. Ha! The blonde man started laughing, greatly confusing the Kujisaki girl. What are you laughing at, idiot? Naruto stopped laughing and smiled at her. Just a little impulse, nothing important. Nobara looked at him and smiled playfully. Aha! You wanted to kiss me, I knew it, you're a pervert, she said, smiling as she crossed her arms and nodded to herself. Naruto shook his head as I smiled. I wouldn't have thought of doing that. Besides, if that was my impulse, I assure you I would have done it, he said, smiling. Nobara, I would have hit you if you tried, she replied. It would have been worth it. Or so I think, you don't even know how to kiss. I know how to kiss better than you, idiot. Besides, I doubt you've even had a girlfriend. No one would put up with you. Naruto came closer. Of course I've had many girlfriends. And am I that unbearable? I see that you can put up with me very well. I mean, you liked it? He asked jokingly. You're still dreaming, blonde, she said, causing Naruto to release her leg, leaving her standing again. They continued staring at each other, Naruto mockingly, and Nobara annoyed, not noticing the people looking at him with smiles for all thinking the same thing. Couples these days. Naruto blushed. I think we should move, he said with a small blush of embarrassment that Nobara noticed and smiled at that. What? Are you embarrassed to be so close to a beauty like me? Naruto rolled his eyes. First, wouldn't he be embarrassed if he were with a beauty? Second, where's the beauty? Nobara got angry again. And last, everyone thinks we're couples, she said in a whisper. Nobara blushed again. Well, it would be best to leave, she said before walking again. Naruto smiled, finding Kujisaki's attitude amusing when Kurama jumped towards his neck, surprising the blonde. Kurama, are you done? He asked, receiving a nod from the fox who curled up around his neck to go to sleep, causing the blonde to smile. You do like sleeping, he whispered, shaking his head in amusement. Leaving that aside, he followed the Kujisaki girl, who was slightly ahead of him. Chapter 9. Naruto and Nobara could be seen walking calmly very close to Tokyo Metropolitan High School. Both were walking calmly, while Naruto seemed to be drinking some kind of beverage similar to a latte or something similar. Do you want it? He asked, offering Nobara the chance to negotiate. I don't like super sweet decaf lattes. She shook her head. The blonde nodded, disregarding the situation, returning to his coffee. Well, that's your loss, he said, calmly taking a sip of his drink. The two young men walked calmly until they reached the academy's barrier. Upon entering, they both felt the shift in dimension. Okay, I'm leaving now, Naruto said as he pulled away from the brunette. She got angry. You're taking my shopping, you idiot blonde, she shouted angrily, and Naruto only stopped to sigh. You've never been told you're annoying, she said, making a face of annoyance. Nobara seemed annoyed by that. Nobara approached the annoyed blonde. I'm not annoying. It's not my problem that you're an emo sad boy hiding behind a fake smile. Naruto snorted at that. And what do you care if I'm an emo sad boy? At least I don't go around annoying everyone who comes near me. Naruto snorted at what he said, and Nobara got even angrier. Angry, crazy brunette? She asked in a mocking tone. Typical of him. Nobara leaned closer to the blonde's face. If you kiss me, I'll kill you. Naruto, I'm not crazy enough to kiss someone like you, said the joke. Before anyone does anything, Panda appeared through the door, while behind Maki chased him. Behind the trio together the followers, and a little later a black-haired girl came out behind them three. This was a second-year girl named Akane Ashali, semi-first grade sorceress. Naruto and Nobara are kissing. They both blushed at the scream of the panda who was still being chased by the two dark-haired girls and the white-haired man who talks to food ingredients. Salmon, Toj said, continuing to chase the panda. Naruto blushed even more at what the Inumaki had said. Nobara blushed too, though. She didn't know what she said, but her tone wasn't at all saintly. Naruto, mute pervert. Thinking angrily. Maki, who was still chasing the panda around a tree, managed to hit it with her staff, causing it to fall to the ground. Good for you both, congratulations. And Naruto. Why are you in your true form? She said as she hit the panda again. Akane looked at the blonde at his side. Naruto in a relationship, I can say I've seen it all, she said, smiling at the blonde, who snorted but smiled mockingly. I already told you I'm not in a relationship with this crazy woman. This crazy brunette isn't my type. And I'm in my true form because I'm free, although he'll be a kid again in a little while, he said, mocking Kujisaki, before explaining to Maki. The brunette snorted. Finally, we agree on something. You're the opposite of what I'm attracted to. Naruto looked curious. So you like stupid, idiotic, unamusing, unattractive, weak, and most of all, no nonsense, he said, smiling proudly at his qualities. Only you believe that, he said amusedly, and Naruto frowned. Naruto, I can say the same. Ain't na. Nobara got angry at the comment. How dare you? She shouted, super angry at the blonde guy. My height is normal for my age. That's not true. You're 5 feet 6 inches. For your age, you should be 5 feet 6 inches. Quite a bit different from me. I'm 5 feet 7 inches. Shorty, he said mockingly. While behind them, the 3 humans and the panda watched this interaction with doubt. We all agree that they love each other, right? The other 3 nodded, watching the young woman's interaction. I say they kiss, she said, smiling. The brunette smiled. Toj, rice with salmon. Panda smiled. No. It's not a tum. I doubt Nobara can give one like that, he said, smiling and watching the young boy's adorable interaction. Nobara, he hated you. And you don't know how much, he said angrily, his brow furrowed as he brought his face closer to Naruto's mocking smile. Yeah? Well, I'm tired of staring at you all day. So let's go to your room to finish this. Yeah. That's not what she means. Perverts. Nobara shouted, blushing. And you. Come on. Give me my groceries, and then don't come near me. Naruto smiled. Of course, my story isn't that interesting either. Okay. You can come closer to me, but don't play with me, she said, huffing in resignation. Naruto smiled and started walking. Fine. Just don't fall behind. Nobara walked beside him, leaving the 3 sorcerers and the panda watching them. Rice. Maki, yes, Inumaki. They are the most bipolar couple I've ever seen. The white-haired man advancing. Narutomaki, salmon, he said, and everyone nodded in agreement with the white-haired man. With Naruto and Nobara. Nobara and Naruto walked calmly. It seemed as if they hadn't even been arguing less than 2 minutes ago. Nobara gave a small laugh, which made Naruto hesitate, and without waiting, he asked, What's so funny? Alarming Nobara. Shorty. Didn't you have better insults? Naruto irritated. Sure. I was a short brunette, a crazy midget, a hot brunette, and I don't have any more, he said, shrugging. Nobara looked at him doubtfully because of one of the insults. Nobara, hot chestnut? I asked doubtfully. Naruto assented. Yes. I thought it was good for you, he said, and Nobara nodded. Nobara, fine. But hot in what sense? Like angry or? Naruto understood and shrugged without concern. Can it be both? He asked jokingly. Nobara nudged him in the ribs, causing the blonde to laugh. Yeah? Just joking. Though you can take it however you want, she said, smiling seductively. Although Nobara blushed slightly, she still maintained her composure and smiled. Are you trying to seduce me? Naruto smirked. Something. Do you believe that? He asked, lowering his head slightly to Nobara's height. They both looked at each other, smiling. Who kisses first? Nobara shook her head, and a smiling Naruto approached Kujisaki to give her a quick little kiss, which really surprised Nobara. What? You thought I was playing? Naruto said, amused, a blush on his face. Nobara just looked away, a little embarrassed. Something like that, she said, and Naruto leaned closer to Nobara to kiss her again, but deeper this time. This time, the brunette did the same, leaning in to deepen the kiss between the two, which continued for a few more minutes. "It seems you weren't as bad as I thought," said Naruto, smiling, and Nobara, who was blushing. Naruto moved quickly, and in one movement, he already had Nobara against the wall next to the school gate and in front of her with his 2 hands on each side preventing escape, something that really didn't matter to Nobara because she didn't intend to do it. "Nobara, you're an idiot," she said, and Naruto smiled more. "Naruto, I love it when you compliment me like that." Nobara just pouted because she was the embarrassed and shy one here. Although it was to be expected, she never had a boyfriend or suitor, and even her first intimate interaction was with the blonde, so it was to be expected that she'd be the shy one. Especially since the blonde knew what he was doing, as demonstrated by the kiss he knew how to handle and dominate. "Do you want to know why he kisses so well? Seriously?" Nobara blushed because she forgot the blonde could read minds. "Get out of my head," she said angrily. "Naruto, just because I stop reading your mind doesn't mean I'm leaving. You're thinking about me so much that I don't think I'll get out of there for a few days, so how about we finish this and go to your ability?" Nobara got angry at that. "Who do you think I am? Just because I like you, I'm not going to do that to you. Pervert." Hearing Nobara's statement, Naruto became confused, and his expression of extreme doubt showed it. "I meant to finish the round of kisses, or someone would come. That's why I said we'll get to your room," he said in a confused chibi manner. Nobara blushed at that. Sorry," she said, embarrassed. Naruto dismissed it with a smile that only made Nobara blush more. "Don't worry, it's nothing," said with a smile Uzumaki wets waifu's panties. "We better go. As someone might be here now," she said, taking Naruto's hand as they started walking. Nobara led the blonde to the door, where she let go of his hand to take out her key and open it. But Naruto stopped her. What's wrong?" she asked, embarrassed. Naruto made the silence sign with his finger, and Nobara was confused. Naruto slowly opened the door to Nobara's room, and they both witnessed the most random thing either of them would ever think to see. In Nobara's room, Megumi Fushiguro, Yuji Itadori, and Satoru Gojo were standing with their backs to Naruto and Nobara. The odd thing about it was that Itadori wasn't wearing a shirt. Instead, he had a pink bra that he had just put on and a loose skirt. Meanwhile, Fushiguro only had a large drop on his head, while Gojo had funny panties in his hands that matched the bra Yuji was wearing. Fushiguro. "Pass me the shirt so I can finish." He didn't finish when he and Fushiguro turned around and saw Nobara standing in the doorway looking at them, and a Naruto behind her who took out his phone and shot/took/pasted several photos of the trio. Both of them stood still without reacting due to the surprise of seeing the Kujisaki girl, until boom! One blow from Naruto's hammer to Nobara was more than enough to knock Yuji to the ground, who fell with X in his eyes. "Nobara," was the only thing Fushiguro said when another hammer blow knocked him to the ground along with Megumi. "Pair of idiots," he said angrily to the unconscious duo. "And you give me that? Perverted pedophile," she shouted angrily, taking off Gojo's panties, and angrily began trying to push Satoru out of the room, but he didn't even budge. It didn't even seem like she was touching him at all. While Naruto had his cell phone in his hand, he was looking at the images he took. "This will go to the whole school. Let the second and third years see this," he thought, laughing a little. Until Nobara forcibly snatched the phone away from him and angrily threw it to the ground. "That's my underwear you have. You can't pull it up." "Huh?" Kujisaki was confused when she saw the blonde man, standing with his back to his knees and looking at his phone. Little by little, the blonde Zenin began to shrink, and in a flash, he was a 3 or 3.5-year-old boy with tears streaming from his blue eyes. "My Po! I want my Po!" Nobara covered her ears, and Satoru looked at baby Naruto. "Looks like you made him cry, Nobara. Hee, you'll have to put him to sleep," the bandage master said, amused. "Nobara, hey! This is your fault, you were the ones who got in here." Satoru ignored him and took his 2 male students. Tip: keep him close to you at all times. He doesn't like being alone for more than 5 minutes. With that, Saturo left the room, leaving Naruto crying and Nobara furious, demonstrating it by throwing her hammer at the door, which clearly broke from the blow. He's an idiot! She calmed down when she saw Naruto as a baby. Good. He said his attitude is determined by his age. That means he's a baby right now and it's not a joke, she said thoughtfully. The boy was crying over his phone or something inside it. But what the heck is a Po? She knew she had to research what a Po was right now, or the blonde would only get worse. Why do I have to do this? She sighed angrily. She grabbed her laptop and started searching. But she was confused by what appeared on her screen. Is Po still a piece of shit? And so it was. Kujisaki read that Po was technically a video game about a living piece of poop. That it only knew how to eat, get sick, play, and sleep, and the person was the one who had to take care of it. Are you crying about this? She said, showing the laptop to baby Naruto. When he stopped crying, he smiled happily at the sight of Po. Po! Happily. The blonde man approached the laptop. Po! Here's the Po! He said with difficulty, smiling. Nobara, who would have thought that idiot would be so sweet as a child? She thought, looking at the boy who looked at her with doubt at her smile. Nobea, why don't you play? The girl's heart sank at the boy's words. So much tenderness in one place. The girl collapsed, leaving a small, innocent Naruto in a state of confusion. He continued staring at the image of the Po, only to discover it was a picture, not the game. Suddenly Nobara stood up to look at baby Naruto, who jumped out of the stall due to Kujisaki's sudden awakening. You stunned me, he said angrily in a tender way, making Nobara smile. Nobara, you should always be like this. You're so cute. The blonde man was confused. I don't understand you. Don't you like me when I'm big? Nobara was alarming. Of course I like you. But you're cuter and less of an idiot this way, she said, hugging the blonde man who was assimilating to Feliz. Then sit down, little one, every time he asks me. Nobara smiling. But then he slowly shook his head. Don't worry. It's okay this time. Naruto made a cute sound. Thank you, he said happily, but then made a confused face. So, am I getting bigger again? Nobara, sure if you want, she said, and Naruto nodded like a military man in a tender way. Making a hand seal. The blonde man began to grow until he reached 8 years old. The blonde man, now 8 years old and with a mature conscience, stood still for everything he did as a child. A blush rose on his face. Just 10 cents, yes or no? Was everything I did real, or is my head playing tricks on me? Nobara laughed at this as she nodded. Yeah, you did. Naruto blushed even more and made the seal again, giving way to a 17-year-old Naruto who blushed bright red in pure embarrassment. Damn it, Kazoku, you'll see! He thought angrily to the old man in his mind. Even if he didn't see him, Naruto could tell that the ancient Zenin was just laughing. Nobara looked at him mockingly. You looked like such an innocent kid. I should have taken a picture, she said, smiling while cursing herself internally for not thinking of the photo sooner. You know, you should change more into a young man. You look cuter, she said playfully. Naruto just sounds a little nervous. Thanks. Though it wasn't me who changed ages, he said, still annoyed with the elderly Zenin. Nobara, if it wasn't you, can anyone else activate your techniques? Naruto froze. No, that's not what I meant. I'm just saying that maybe Sola activated, or maybe it was a surprise, he said nervously, earning a look of "Are you serious?" from Nobara. Do I have the face of Itadori to believe something like that? Naruto gave her a small smile that angered her. Just talk. Yes, yes. But how delicate, she said, and once again earned Nobara's angry glare. What I'm about to tell you is top secret. No one but you and me can know. If you tell anyone, I'll kill you. Nobara rolled her eyes at Zenin Rubio's threat. So? Naruto, it's serious. Now is when you get scared and nod in fear, he said with his eyes rolling at Nobara's poor performance. Nobara, I would never do that. You're not the first person to threaten me with death, you know. Naruto just ignored him. Well, as I said, I know. Since you're Itadori's classmate, you'll understand. What happens when a human consumes a cursed object? Nobara, the cursed being or technique of the cursed object will enter the person who ate it. And depending on each person's strength, one of them will end up with the body. She said, uncertain about where this would go. Naruto, correct. He said, smiling. Well, something similar happened to me. In me, he is a sorcerer from more than 2,000 years ago or more who emerged in this era, just like Sukuna in Itadori. Only I obtained it when I was 7 years old. Exactly the day when I massacred my master. He said, giving the shortest summary. Nobara, that means you have a Sukuna inside you. Naruto started laughing uncontrollably at Kujisaki's response. Ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Of course not, the one I have inside me is a Zenin, the first Zenin. He said, muttering in pink at the Kujisaki's cry of surprise, who got angry at being mocked. Yes, thanks for the explanation, she said, crossing her arms at the mockery. Naruto saw this and snorted. Are you upset? A kiss could fix that. I don't think so, he said seductively, bringing his face closer to Nobara's, who whispered, Idiot, to receive the blonde's kiss. They kissed for a few minutes, until they broke apart due to lack of air. Better? Nobara was alarming. Just a little, she said jokingly. Naruto responded loudly, leaning back and close to her lips. Let's try another one, he whispered, amused, as he tried to give her another kiss. This time, Nobara was laid back on the floor while Naruto was on top of her, kissing her more deeply. Naruto, and now? Yeah, I think I'm better now, he said, chuckling. The two boys stared at each other with loving smiles on their faces. Just as another kiss was about to arrive, Kujisaki's cell phone began to vibrate. Naruto stopped his advance toward Nobara's lips, which were millimeters away from making contact with his own. Both. You're not going to answer, they said at the same time. Naruto looked at her confused. Isn't that yours I'm dreaming about? You destroyed mine, remember? He said, lifting his face from Nobara's and looking at his cell phone, which was scattered in pieces all over the floor of Kujisaki's room. Nobara, seeing this, also reached for her cell phone. Getting up from the floor, she saw the phone on the bed and grabbed it as quickly as possible and answered. Hello? Yes, he's here and he's an adult again. Entry, 20 minutes. Understood, she said, putting her phone down. Naruto used a mirror to carry his head. Nobara was about to answer the unasked question, but Naruto spoke first. Mission with your team. As a special grade sorcerer, I'm the leader and I must take care of them. Yes, I read your mind, he said, and Nobara was a comical drop. If you already know all that, that means you know it's in 20 minutes. The blonde nodded. And you have to put on your uniform? Naruto shook his head. I don't like that uniform. I prefer to walk around in my red kimono, he said, switching to his false form, wearing a red and white kimono and his sandy gold hair in a small ponytail. Nobara looked at him doubtfully. Are you going to wear that uniform again? He asked as he grabbed his uniform and prepared to go into the bathroom to put it on. The blonde man nodded at her question. Yes. It's better. Nobara pouted. I like your real appearance better. Naruto listened to what Nobara said and smiled. Don't worry. It was just this once as a reminder of the last mission. Afterwards, I'll always use my true appearance. For you, he said, smiling, earning a blush from Nobara, who smiled instead of hiding it. Good. I hope you comply, you blonde idiot, he said, heading into the bathroom. Naruto smiling. Sure, crazy brunette. Minutes later. Nobara could be seen in her Tokyo Metropolitan School uniform, while Naruto walked calmly beside Kijisaki in his kimono. The girl looked at her clothes, or rather, the kimono. Why are you wearing it like that? You can't wear it normally, she said, referring to the kimono. Naruto was confused. Yes. But what's so important about how I use it? Nobara blushed at the response. So all the girls look at your chest, she said, crossing her arms in a serious manner, but also blushing. Naruto was confused until he understood what the brunette meant. Smiling mockingly, he looked at her. We're not even a couple yet, and you're already jealous of me? Nobara blushed. Ha! Don't worry, she said, and began to put on her kimono normally, then pointed to her chest. No one will see or touch this place. Nobara blushed at that. Nobara, idiot. Chapter 10. Nobara, Yuji, and Megumi could be seen in the back seats of a black car on their way to their assigned mission. In the front seats was Naruto as co-pilot, quietly eating in his false form, and next to him, as pilot, was a blonde woman with black roots and a black suit with a tie. This was Nida Akari, deputy supervisor. In July in Morioka, Taichi Kaneda. In August in Shokujama, Osamu Shimada. In September in Nagoya, Hiroshi Yamato. All three died in very similar ways, she said, driving calmly. They were stabbed by a cursed spirit at the entrances to their apartments. She explained to the young men behind her while Naruto ate ice cream peacefully beside her. And they all complained the same things to their supervisors weeks before they died, that the automatic doors were open, although no one else in recent memory had noticed or suffered anything similar. Megumi looked calm, considering what her superior had explained. None of the dates match. Were they really killed by the same cursed spirit? Yuji, hey, can cursed spirits cause the door issues? If a sensor can detect them. I mean, cameras can't see them, so. Akari, the cursed spirit messed up the door operator, it wasn't just its sensors. Yuji was a little confused, not understanding much, and Nobara became thoughtful. Huh! The operator? Akari was suspicious. Well, if all this was done by the same cursed spirit, it couldn't be determined by its trail since some time had passed. That's why we looked for every connection between the three, and we discovered they attended the same school for 2 years. Nobara, does that mean these guys received their curse a long time ago, and it only activated a while ago? Yuji was surprised by his friend's deduction. Akari, it's the most viable deduction until we get more information. Now let's go to your high school, and I want you to pay attention to every detail. As sorcerers, you'll be able to notice any details that humans overlook. Yuji being annoying. You're amazing, Kujisaki. Nobara was proud of that and boasted. Huh, what did you expect? She said proudly. Naruto looked back and spoke to the salmon-haired man. Don't push his ego, or his head won't fit back in the car, he said, smiling mockingly while still holding the spoon in his mouth. Nobara glared at him. Don't get involved, you idiot blonde, she said, annoying Naruto, who just stuck his tongue out at her playfully. Meanwhile, Megumi watched their interaction with a sniffle. It was obvious they both liked each other. Leaving that for later. Naruto looked at the 3 descriptions of the possible curse victims, and noticed something they all had in common. Hey, it seems these 3 had a mutual friend from the same school, he said, looking at the same name in all 3 descriptions. Akira looked at this and became excited. Well done, Mr. Naruto. Now we have a possible witness. We just have to go to the Morishita family's house. Naruto stuck his tongue out at Nobara again mockingly as Akira sped up. Later. Yuji, a funeral? He asked, looking at the Morishita family home, where everyone was dressed in black and had funeral candles placed on the doors. Isn't this the house of the one who knew you? Nobara asked. Akira narrowed his eyes. Yes, it was this one, he said, sighing. What a problem, she said, stressed. He died the same way as the other 3. Since he lived with his family, there were no automatic doors, but he died in front of his house. And weeks before, he had told his family about the open doors. She thought about Naruto. The only thing left for us to do is go to his high school in Eastern Urami, she said, and the Nita nodded. At school. The sorcerer's group could be seen getting out of the vehicle. I questioned his parents, but none of them knew what kind of relationship he had with the other 3, she said, trailing off. Hano! We've lost ours, she said desperately. Naruto, you worry too much. We'll find something here, he said calmly, still maintaining his false form while Nobara stood next to him, hands behind her head, unconcerned. until the brunette's gaze fell on two young men smoking. Smiling, he approached the young men to address their group. "They're juvenile delinquents. Why don't we straighten them out by beating them up?" he asked, smiling cruelly. Naruto's sweat dropped at Kujisaki's aggressive thought. While behind the girl's back, both delinquents heard her words and became annoyed. "Criminal, hey. Who do you think you're with?" The criminal stopped and became scared when he saw the group. "Thanks for coming," they both said nervously. Nobara and Yuji smiled at that. "Wow, they seem to have a good eye." "Yuji, the aura is coming off even though I tried to hide it," he continued boasting. "Delinquents, we haven't seen them since their Fushiguro-san and Zenin-san graduations." Nobara and Yuji were surprised by that and turned to look at the aforementioned, while Megumi looked away in embarrassment, and Naruto with his hand in his kimono pockets looked at the ground as if it were the most interesting thing in the whole place, only to send Nobara's gaze in the eyes. "Indeed, the ground is made of ground," he said, but Nobara grabbed her face as did Yuji's. "That doesn't interest me, idiot. Look at me, she said, trying to get Naruto to look at her. Beside her, Yuji did the same. "What did you do to them, Fushiguro? It'll be easier to ask them." The delinquents were embarrassed. All the delinquents and gang members in the area were beaten up by Fushiguro-san. And Zenin-san always drew pictures of our defeats to post all over the school. Nobara and Yuji were left speechless by what he had just said, while Naruto put on a bird's beak to reveal his secret. "Yeah, I beat them up." Fushiguro answered the unasked question, earning another scolding from Yuji. "Naruto, it was just a joke. I was just drawing Megumi's piles of bodies," he said, looking away. "Nobara, it doesn't matter. Just look at me. Why are you so shy to repent?" she said, trying to get Naruto to look at her without any success. "Hey! Who are you? Students from other schools aren't allowed to enter," a voice asked, earning the group's attention. "Nobara, and who the hell are you? Hey!" Naruto's sweat dropped. "I work here, don't be so rude," he said, looking at Kugisaki with a drop of sweat due to her explosive attitude, which he secretly liked a lot about her. Akira intervened before anything could happen. "Don't worry. We have permission to be here," he said, showing a card to the old man, who adjusted his glasses to read it. "I see. So it's you. You're so young. You should have worn your ID around your neck, though," she said pleasantly, then was surprised to see Naruto and Megumi. "Zenin Fushiguro?" Naruto/Megumi, hello? Nobara and Yuji looked at the two of them. "He remembers them," they said jokingly. "Akira, have you worked here for a long time?" "Megumi, maybe. Mr. Takeda is a vital employee." The blonde assistant supervisor smiled and gave a thumbs up. "I'll leave it to you." "Naruto, but it's your job," he thought with a drop of sweat. Minutes later, the old man thought about what the assistant supervisor had said. Kaneda, Shimada, Yamato, and Morishita. Their deaths had quite an impact on me, even though it's been over 20 years since their graduations. I remember it like it was yesterday. They were troublemakers," he said, smiling. "Though not as much as you," he said, referring to Megumi. "Tell me what you need to know." "Megumi, strange rumors, macabre rumors. Or connections to bad people," he said calmly. Nobara and Yuji were going to mock me, but Naruto hit Yuji and Nobara on the head to calm them down. "Idiot blonde," he said angrily, shaking his head. "In conclusion, anything that represents a bad omen," Naruto said, moving away from Nobara so I wouldn't hit him. The old man began to think about what the young man had said. Connections with bad people? "I admit they caused problems, but no more than a normal teenager," he said, and something came to mind. "A bad omen? Are you thinking about jumping off the Yashijashi Bridge?" asked the delinquent with a 90s to 80s hairstyle. "Are you thinking about the jumps from the Yashijashi Bridge?" asked the delinquent with a hairstyle. "Yuji Yashijashi Bridge? People commit suicide there. It's well known as a haunted area," Naruto replied, recording that old legend. "Ha! That's true, Back then it was fashionable to jump off the bridge. It was one of those tests of courage. Yuji and Nobara stared blankly. What trends? Kujisaki said, sweating at the sight of such idiocy. Yuji looked stupid. I'm surprised there are people more stupid than me. Naruto thought for a bit before looking at the idiots A and B. What did they use as a rope? He asked, alarming the criminals. We didn't do those things, we heard stories from our parents' generation. Naruto seemed to understand. One day, Kaneda and the other three skipped school without permission. It wasn't unusual for them, but when we called their homes, we learned they didn't come home last night. Naruto recounted, intriguingly. There was almost a stir, though we soon found unconscious bodies under the bridge. They'd been beaten up, but the four of them said they didn't remember anything. Naruto and the group nodded at the old man's story. Thank you, Mr. Takeda, Naruto said, leaving the delinquents and the elderly worker behind with his group. Akira, you must be there, she said, standing next to the car. While Naruto was sitting on the hood in his child form and Nobara, Megumi and Yuji were standing there thinking. Naruto, it's no use. I've been there several times. Yuji, to jump. His response was a blow to the head from the lesser Zenin. Ouch, he said in pain. Megumi, it's normal for curses to haunt forgotten or haunted places. That's why sorcerers haunt places like a weight to prevent them from evolving. I explained calmly. I've been there too, but I didn't notice anything strange. It's true that the place is famous, but it's still used as a normal bridge, he said calmly, while Yuji was still rubbing the bump on his head at his side. But we should still go. We might find something else since we know what we're looking for. Seijo Nobara won Akira's affection. You're right, the blonde said thoughtfully. Fusiguro, Mr. Takeda called after Megumi, who turned around to face the old man. I'm sorry, I had a question. Megumi ascended. What's wrong? He asked calmly. Takeda, I remember her taking care of you when you were studying here. So tell me, is Tsumaki okay? I asked hesitantly. Yuji, huh? Who is Tsumaki? Naruto, his sister, he answered calmly. While Nobara and Yuji get annoyed. Hey. You don't think you're hiding too much from us? Yuji, that's it. That's it, he said, supporting his partner. Elsewhere. A man with a stitched face and blue hair and eyes of different colors, one yellow and the other blue, could be seen holding 3 jars that appeared to have fetuses inside. If you have such dangerous cursed objects in your possession, why don't you destroy them? He asked, looking at the 3 jars. Because they can't, replied a man with black hair and a sorcerer's suit and a scar on his forehead. They're of special rank. They're prevented from harming others by a contract that puts their lives on hold but preserves their lives. The blue-haired one named Mahito, conspicuously. But Sukuna's fingers can hurt. The black-haired man named Sugurigeto explained the context again. Those are an exception. The fingers belong to a monstrous sorcerer who continues to attract curses even after being split into 20 parts, and they can even choose their children, he said, smiling, and the smiling stitched-faced curse looked at the cursed objects in front of him. But you're working with everyone, aren't you? He asked, directing his gaze at a human in front of him, his palms pinned to the wall and a bandage over his mouth that prevented him from speaking. The curse approached the gagged man and decided to remove the bandage from his mouth. Huh. Food. You want money? I don't have much, but I can ask for a loan, I say desperately, looking at Geto at the back of the room. Mahito ignored his words and grabbed him by the chin. It really will. This guy can't even see me. He has no talent at all, he mocked. Come on, open the grenade, he said, holding one of the fetuses, which he quickly placed in the mouth of the man pinned to the wall, where his eyes and ears instantly began to bleed uncontrollably. With Naruto. Akira, here we are. Yashijashi Bridge in Koi no Kushi Canyon. I'll put up a curtain if there's any sighting of a curse. Yuji understood, he said while smiling and holding a package of plastic thread in his hands. With Mahito. Hello? The curse greeted a creature in front of him. I'm sorry you're just waking up, but can you do me a small favor? he asked, looking at the creature, which couldn't be clearly seen due to the shadows of the night falling through the window. Minutes later, Megumi and Yuji could be seen almost asleep sitting on the side of the road, while next to them an equally sleepy Nobara was on the lap of a tired and almost asleep Naruto. "Hey, we didn't find anything. Let's go," she said tiredly while ignoring the chin of the sleeping Naruto on her shoulder. At that moment, Akira's car pulled up in front of them, earning a smile from Naruto. "We didn't find anything," Megumi said, opening a sandwich as she got out of the car after arriving at the 27-hour convenience store. Naruto yawned as he uncovered his instant ramen from the convenience store. Nobara began drinking from her juice box designed for children next to Yuji, who, like Fushiguro, was eating a snack from the convenience store. "I hate spending the night on missions. That's why I prefer to deal with curses that have already appeared, not ones that I don't know when they'll appear." The blonde Zenin grumbled in his fake adult form, calmly eating his ramen. Akira ignored Zenin's complaints and thought for a moment. "I see. Looks like it wasn't here. We'll have to start from scratch." "Yuji, but we should hurry, right?" he asked doubtfully, earning Naruto's gaze. "Why?" Nobara asked doubtfully, sipping her coffee. "Yuji, it wasn't a famous place. Many people might end up cursed. And the fatality rate is 100%. Minus 99.01%, said Naruto, finishing his ramen. When Kurama appeared around his neck, curling around his neck, he earned the salmon-haired boy's gaze. "Yuji is right," he said, petting the fox. Akira thought for a moment. "Bingo! Jumping was the trend, right? Maybe that part is the key." "Yuji, did he just say bingo?" Nobara and the salmon-haired man looked at the assistant supervisor in a tender way. "That won't work," Megumi said. "Yuji already tried that. The assistant supervisor will uncover her secret." "Wait! It was with that!" she shouted in her mind, grabbing the package from Itadori's hands a while ago. "It's jumping with that plastic thread," she thought, imagining the way it happened, and it wasn't the best. Naruto was about to eat his ramen. But someone called out, causing the noodles to fall off his chopsticks, causing him to snap them in half in anger. When he looked at who called them, he saw the boy from earlier, along with a young woman he knew. "Who was that?" Nobara asked. "He went to high school with Fushiguro. You were very rude to him," she replied, looking at the young man. "Oh," he said, remembering. "You were talking about the Yashijashi Bridge, right? What a relief," he said, getting off his bike next to the yellow-haired girl. "Naruto, Fushinuma," he said, confusing Nobara at his side. "A high school classmate," he said, smiling at the girl. "I'm so glad you remember me," she said, smiling at the blonde who approached, much to Nobara's mild jealousy. The boy spoke before his sister reached the Zenin. "I told my sister I saw them yesterday and she..." The girl continued. "I saw Morishita's funeral, and since my brother told me they were investigating her death and the bridge, I thought there might be a connection," she said nervously. Akira looked at Naruto and the businessman, and the blonde approached in agreement. "Any connection?" he asked, pretending to be unaware. The girl didn't notice and followed her. "A connection between the bridge and Morishita's death." "Naruto, don't worry, don't lie." The girl doesn't let him finish. "I was there. In second grade, I went to the bridge." Naruto and the others became serious. "Has anything been happening at your house lately? Something only you seem to notice and the others dismiss?" Akira's question made the girl look at her. "Our house sometimes doubles as a showroom, but the automatic door is usually open when he arrives. My parents say it's just a coincidence, but I know there's something there," she said, hugging herself in terror. "I'm scared, but when my brother told me about you, I thought of Yashijashi Bridge." Naruto saw this and approached the girl to give her a hug. "Don't worry, maybe they're right and it's just a coincidence," he said more soothingly. Nobara crossed her arms at the blonde's actions. Akari coughed into her hand. "When did the door thing start?" she asked, and Naruto looked at her with the "Are you serious?" face at the assistant supervisor's not at all indiscreet question. "It's been a week, it happens from time to time." Megumi thought for a moment, analyzing. All the victims died within a week of noticing the doors. There's still time. Nobara looked at the girl a little angrily. The time you went to that bridge. Was it alone or with someone? She asked directly. The girl slowly backed away from Naruto and thought. So it does have something to do with it? She asked, frightened. Akira, it's about the automatic doors. It has nothing to do with the bridge here. He said a little nervously while Naruto gave him that "are you serious" look again, but with his bad way of lying. Even he, when he wasn't lying, lied better than the blonde woman. Fushiguro and the others are helping me with a project, the effect of electromagnetic devices on haunted places. That's why I want to hear more people's experiences, he said, smiling at the girl. I just hope I can save her after lying to her, he thought. The girl thinks for a moment. I went to do a courage test with 2 other girls. Like that. Fushiguro, Tsumaki was there too, she says, remembering that. Everyone was surprised by those words. I see. Well, we'll ask her too, the Fushiguro said as calmly as possible. Akira understood. All right. I'll take these 2 home, he said, leading the young men away, leaving the others behind. Yuji stared at his friend's motionless back. Fushiguro, he called out to the boy in shock. Fushiguro! Reaction! He said, grabbing the black-haired boy by the shoulders. We need to know if he's okay, he said, and Megumi reacted. I'm fine now, he said, walking away. I'm sorry, I need to clear my head. Naruto, Yuji, and Nobara watched him leave. I have something to do, I'll be back in a second, Naruto said, noticing his return. Nobara looked at this and was surprised, and leaving Yuji behind, she followed the blonde Zenin. Naruto, upon reaching an alley, made a hand seal, causing his shadow to appear, the size of a normal monkey, but with a snake-like tail wider than a common monkey's. Protect Tsumaki with your life, he said to the Shikigami, who ascended and disappeared, jumping through the houses. The blonde man watched the Shikigami's farewell calmly. In addition to comforting overwhelmed girls, protecting friends' sisters. You're quite the gentleman, Nobara said at his side. Naruto turned to look at her with a small smile. Jealous? Nobara, I don't know. Do you think so? She asked jokingly, but her response was a small, short kiss from the Zenin. Kujisaki made a sound as she held his hand in hers. You know I'm here. If you need to talk, just tell me. Naruto snorted at the girl's help. Thank you, he said, closing his eyes with a smile on his face. At that moment, both sorcerers returned to the store where they were, Yuji looking at Megumi, who was finishing up a conversation on her cell phone. And is Tsumaki okay? Itadori asked, looking at Megumi, who was putting away her cell phone. Yes. But the mission's danger has escalated. Other higher-ranking sorcerers will take over. We'll return home, he said, and Nobara and Yuji looked at Megumi seriously. Naruto just sighed at the whole ordeal. Yuji, wait. Because only we're leaving. And you? I asked, forcing Megumi to stay out. I'll be back after I say goodbye to Mr. Takeda, he said, managing to get Itadori inside the car. Naruto looked at Megumi from the passenger seat, and their eyes met. Naruto looked forward. Well, see you later, Megumi, Naruto said as the car began to accelerate, leaving Fushiguro behind, who was looking at the car strangely. Naruto, don't you suspect anything? He asked himself, looking at the retreating car. Chapter 11. It was already nighttime, and Fushiguro could be seen walking through the forest near Yashijashi Bridge. Hello? This is Nita Akari. Could I ask you something? He asked into his cell phone as he walked down the steep hill. The woman on the other end nodded. About the procedure, no. Fushinuma didn't walk on the Yashijashi Bridge, they performed the test from below. Megumi, Itadori also crossed under the bridge. I thought. Jumping might not help. If the curse is on a barrier, the procedure might be important. First, go at night. Second, go under the Yashijashi Bridge, and finally. Megumi looked at the bridge where someone greeted him, but he ignored it, concentrating more on the proceedings. Why do you always hide so much from us? Megumi frowned in annoyance at hearing Nobara's voice behind her. You were so desperate that you didn't even notice us, she said, and the Fushiguro looked back at the bridge, where he noticed Naruto, who was the one who waved. Yuji nodded. We're not going to force you to tell us everything, but at least trust us. We're friends, right? Naruto jumped off the bridge and landed peacefully. Megumi remained silent for a moment. A light breeze passed in front of everyone in the awkward silence. Uzumaki is bedridden. Both Nobara and Yuji look serious. The curse only reveals itself to those who possess it. But since it can't communicate, I have no way of knowing when it will die, he said seriously. That's why I want to exorcise it as soon as possible. But it's true that the danger level has risen. Nobara, good. Yuji, it was so hard for you to tell us. Megumi smiled at the responses of her companions and friends. At the bottom of the canyon, there should be a stream, Naruto said, recalling that from Megumi's mind. Crossing a river or a border means going beyond, right? The four looked at the stream and smiling, they crossed it, causing the domain to activate around them and the whole environment to change to a kind of cave where there were several holes in the ceiling or floor and some kind of slug was outside of one. Nobara, it'll be great to exorcise it, she said, smiling while holding her cursed hammer in her hand. Naruto made the demonic sword he usually uses come out of his shadow. Naruto, I just hope it's a challenge. I haven't slept at all and I need something to cheer me up, he said, prepared. Until something entered his ears, and moving away from the place, the creature from yesterday that was with Mahito appeared. Itadori, another one? This one has nothing to do with it, right? Naruto shook his head and Yuji smiled. Getting into a fighting stance, he covered his arms in cursed energy and smiled. Fine. I'll take care of this one, he said, ready. With that, the creature began to spurt blood from its larger mouth, which Itadori easily dodged by moving out of the way of the blood, which collided with the wall in the background and began to steam upon contact. What's in his blood? Is it poison? He thought as he approached the curse, which was beginning to be brutally beaten by the salmon-haired man, but surprisingly the bizarre-looking creature was taking the blows easily and even smiling. While Naruto, Megumi, and Nobara destroyed the curses that looked like moles as they entered and exited various holes. These things are annoying, said the blonde Zenin, cutting a mole with his demonic sword. Behind him Nobara hit his nails imbued with cursed energy, launching them at high speed towards a mole, which when hit in the head caused more moles that had come out to explode at once. How much longer will we be playing tag? Naruto looked at the Kujisaki and flinched. The curse is weak. As long as he has the barrier and the ritual active, he won't be able to attack. Nobara was confused. You're saying the original body is weak? Naruto looked at her. Of course, it's just theory. But the attacks, the Shikigami, the barrier are things that weaken the original body, he said while cutting down more mole-shaped Shikigami. Megumi approached the duo as they talked. This is easy. The biggest threat will come later, she said, looking into the distance as Itadori fought the curse. Both Naruto and Megumi turned around at Nobara's scream. That when looking at her she was being absorbed by two hands. Kujisaki, astonished Gito Megumi. Don't worry. Finish here, I'll come back, she said as she was sucked in. Naruto, who had tried to catch her, frowned. The blonde was about to cross, but had to move away because the green curse fighting Yuji crossed the gate. Itadori, damn it, it escaped. Should I chase it or? Megumi frowned. Go. Nobara and the other thing have left the barrier, and if that curse that just came out is an ally of the other one. Nobara is in grave danger, she said, and Yuji became worried after hearing his companion's words. Go. We'll take care of this, it's easier. Naruto, no, he said seriously. Both boys looked at him. What are you saying? This is serious, Kujisaki could be in trouble. Yuji needs to go help, Megumi said angrily. Naruto looked at him seriously. I'll go, that way I'll make sure it ends quickly. You guys finish here, he said as he crossed the portal, but before he could fully exit he made a hand seal and spoke. Innate technique of the 10 shadows. Wild beasts, Black Widow, he said, and with that a human-sized spider appeared. It's the Shikigami I was missing from my collection of wild beasts. It's semi-first grade. And it's one of the strongest, too. Goodbye. I end up being absorbed. Megumi and Itadori looked surprised. It looks like the curse that appeared at the paintball ranges a few days ago, Fushiguro thought. Of course, the curse from a few days ago was half human, but from the description, he could tell the spider part was similar. Yuji, what are you waiting for, Fushiguro? Let's finish here, he said, starting to hit moles. Meanwhile, the spider was slicing the moles with its sharp legs. On the other side. As Naruto finished exiting the portal, he saw a dark-skinned man wearing black pants and bare feet. His pants were fused to a mini-top by black strings. This curse was apparently conversing with Nobara about something. Naruto, hey. Nobara, I didn't know you had these tastes, he said, approaching the woman. But he covered his nose due to a sudden odor. Kujisaki looked at him in surprise. What are you doing here? Where did you leave Itadori and Fushiguro? She asked seriously, still staring at the dark-skinned curse in front of her. Naruto smiled. Don't worry. I left one of my first-grade Shikigami behind. Unless it's a special grade, nothing will happen, he said calmly. But at that moment, he felt something that drained him of his energy. They just destroyed my Shikigami in one fell swoop, he said while Nobara looked at him with a look of "Are you serious?" which made him laugh nervously. Does that mean that? Naruto thought for a moment. It means that either the curse is of a higher rank that would give it a special rank, or somehow it's of the first rank and it took my Shikigami by surprise, he said, and although it was the most viable option, it wasn't the one he wanted to choose either. Think positive and prepare for the negative. The man in front of them became serious. Ryaman Sukuna's finger is active. The curse that possesses him has already awakened, he thought, looking into Naruto's eyes, whose own opened. Wait a second, he said, surprising Nobara with his tone. Here's a finger of Ryaman Sukuna. At the statement, Nobara at his side was shocked beyond belief, while the curse in front of them frowned. Did he discover it? How? The barrier shouldn't let you feel your fingers. At least he discovered it through his supposedly dead curse, he thought, calculating. But nothing made sense. From what he remembered, curse summoners couldn't see through their Shikigami. Or at least not all of them, and this boy didn't seem to. Forget that. I have to go now, he said, leaping backward. And leaping backward, the curse began to run. Naruto noticed this and frowned. He's going after the finger, he thought as Nobara stepped forward and tried to hit the curse with her hammer, but was dodged. Do you really think you can run away like that? He asked, and the special grade curse smiled. I hate people seeing my back. So I'm warning you, miss, if he sees you, he'll kill you, he said, still dodging, until she was behind him. The other green curse emerged from a portal leading into the barrier. When the creature saw someone behind him, he became angry. I'll kill you, he shouted, and his brother screamed in fear. Sorry, big brother, he said, scared. Because of his carelessness, the brown-skinned curse had turned around, allowing Naruto and Nobara to see his back, which was the most horrifying thing Nobara had ever seen. The back, if you could call it that. It was mostly a gaping mouth with sharp teeth, and the eyes were identical to those on the main face, with black irises and pointed pupils. Naruto, so this is where the stench came from. If you didn't want them to see you, you could wear a t-shirt, you know? That made the brown-skinned curse focus on them again, but before it could act, an electric hammer blow from Nobara caused her to fly away with spasms of electricity throughout her body. The curse, resisting the blow, fell to its feet next to its younger brother. You damned! I'll kill you both! He shouted angrily, while a torrent of blood flowed from the eyes behind his back, like the wings of a demon. You can start running. And turn your backs on me, he said, and in a flash, one of the branches of blood flew past Nobara's head, and she barely managed to react in time to dodge it. Naruto saw this and frowned. I think it's best to run until we can attack, he said seriously. And as he said, both he and Nobara began to run, and in an instant, more branches of blood began to chase them, seemingly unwilling to stop. Chestnut. Speed up, otherwise he'll hit you, he said as Nobara frowned and tried to run faster, but as she concentrated on running, a torrent of blood hit her in front of her, causing her to fall to the ground. Naruto, seeing this, stopped and took Nobara in his arms, placing Kara Mernsid back. Accelerator. I'll cover you from here, he said, and Naruto nodded. Naruto. Hold on, he said, his body covered in lightning. In what seemed like a blink of an eye to Kujisaki, Naruto shot off at high speed, reaching the forest ahead of them. But even so, the blood followed him closely, and Nobara noticed. Nobara, can't you go any faster? This will catch us. Naruto, if I use any more lightning you'll fry. That's the most I can do with someone with me, he said, sighing. But a torrent of blood crashed in front of Naruto, causing him to stumble a little, and that's why. He couldn't balance himself enough to avoid colliding with the edge of the bridge, bending this calm as if it were paper. Blood at sonic speed. What will it be tomorrow? Water at the speed of light, he thought, because of how absurd the speed of blood was. I could tell Naoya, one of the fastest sorcerers, would have trouble with this blood. You did well, Nobara mocked, standing up from the Zenin's watering. He smiled at the girl's words. Really? He asked jokingly. The girl shook her head and laughed a little. Just joking. Or maybe not, she said, and Naruto smiled a little, until he felt a presence behind him, pushing the girl. A mouthful of blood fell on his face, causing it to begin to smoke, and Naruto hissed in pain. Naruto! The brown-haired girl cried out worriedly, but at that moment, her arm was stabbed by the blood branches of the other curse. He took the shortcut to catch us. And he took advantage of the fact that I couldn't use my full speed to catch us off guard, Naruto thought seriously. The burns generated by the blood healed with reverse energy. The purple-skinned curse smiled. Don't worry. My brother's technique is the same as mine. It doesn't matter if we bathe them in our blood, they won't die. Although, we can make them suffer until they die. With everything ready, we can begin the ritual. Rot faction, he said, snapping his fingers. And on the arm and left side of Nobara and Naruto's faces, black forests appeared, stating that they were under the curse ritual of both curses that surrounded them side by side. Naruto looked at this seriously. Nobara. Don't move, movement increases the pain. Only move when necessary, he said, a little worried, to the girl, who nodded and restricted her movements. Nobara pulled one of her nails from its nail holder on her back, which confused both of them. So we'll rot until we die, right? What if they join us too? Let's see who can last longer, she said, and stabbed herself in the forearm as she said, Resonance! With the spell cast, both curses felt a sudden pain in their bodies, and Naruto smiled. What's he doing? Joining them? Who can take it the longest? Does his technique allow him to reflect other curses onto others? The curse thought as he worried. But even with the apparent pain of his technique, he smiled. It doesn't matter. We'll still be able to outlast them. No matter how many times he uses his technique on us, they'll fall first, he thought, smiling. But that same smile fell when Naruto without any warning ran against the green-colored curse with two mouths. The one with the darker skin was surprised by this, and Nobara smiled at this. Is this technique for poison? He knows the reverse ritual, which can easily expel the poison in a short time. And even if it causes rot, it's a special grade of the strongest. That would be nothing to him, he thought, smiling. Naruto, upon reaching the curse, began to punch at her, giving her no chance to defend herself. Punch after punch, Naruto's fists attacked faster, reaching speeds that made the Zenin smile. Curse technique, kinetic energy buildup. Meteor punches! He screamed, and with that, thousands of blows began to hit the curse that slowly couldn't hold on any longer. He would have easily died if it weren't for Naruto stopping, and Nobara and he collided back to back, and without doing anything but smiling, they both changed direction. They'll change targets, thought the purple-skinned man, running towards Naruto who was heading towards him. It was clear that they would be face to face in a few seconds. While Nobara, still in pain from the technique inside her, began to run towards the green curse that was almost dead, something that surprised the dark-skinned man. Even in her state, she will go after my brother who is worse. And the boy, will he stop me until she kills my brother? He thought in a worried way, watching as Nobara approached her brother. But a smile came to her mind. Even if I manage to kill him, the boy won't be able to cure the girl with the reverse ritual in time, and the putrefaction will kill her. I won't deactivate the putrefaction, she said, smiling because she would win either way. Or so he thought. But his brother's summons caused them to be unaware of it, deactivating the putrefaction technique, which surprised Naruto and Nobara. And now free, they both began to move even faster. Naruto began his assault on the curse with a great fight routine. It was like a dance between Naruto and the curse, but unfortunately for the curse, this dance was all about him taking blows or dodging attacks from the blonde Zenin. With a punch, Naruto sent him flying against the bridge wall, and in an instant he was back on top of the curse, kneeing him in the stomach, causing him to spit blood. Not giving it a chance, another blow aimed at the curse's head, which barely managed to move away. But like a bolt of lightning, in a flash of blue, Naruto was upon the curse again, preparing a blow that brought a smile to the Zenin's face. This feeling, it's adrenaline. When was the last time I flashed like that? He thought and landed the blow. A black flash shone for a millisecond, causing the curse's entire arm to instantly detach from the shoulder, surprising the latter. What was that flash? I'm sure I reinforced my arm before the blow, but even so, it was blown off to the shoulder. He thought, but another flash further away from him shone, and upon seeing what it was, he opened his eyes. His brother was on the ground with the wound from the Nobara spike. Naruto looked at this and prepared to attack. Or so he thought. Until Gra! The green curse shouted, standing up again, about to attack Nobara. Both Naruto and the green curse looked at this in surprise, but first, Nobara smiled. I didn't show you this one, right? Buckle, she said, and in the shape of a nail, her cursed energy expanded when the curse was pierced from side to side. Naruto now smiled. Good turn for you. He was about to say, looking at the last curse, but his eyes widened at what he saw. Tears fell from the curse's eyes, which distracted Naruto for a few seconds. And at that instant, a van passed by Nobara and Naruto. Nobara, idiot blonde. He's running away. With that, Naruto came back to his senses. He frowned at the dark-skinned curse in the truck. Make sure you're an exorcist, he said, looking at the curse at Nobara's feet. And now that the brunette was looking at this, she was surprised. Wait! It didn't disappear, isn't it a curse? Naruto couldn't hear what Nobara said as he ran off at high speed behind the truck. And in an instant, without even activating his lightning armor technique, he was already behind the truck. Damn! Sorry, brother, I couldn't protect him, the curse thought, looking at Naruto, who was following him closely but not getting too close. If you come any closer, this human dies, he said, grabbing one of the humans from the truck and placing a makeshift hand of blood on it in a threatening manner. Naruto seemed to obey the curse's command. But suddenly, someone jumped out of the forest behind the bridge, and Naruto smiled when he saw it. The curse couldn't see him. But at that instant, a blow to his head knocked him off the truck, and Naruto Fernando prepared a blow. Curse technique, kinetic energy accumulation. True right hand of God, he said seriously. And as if it were butter, his fist pierced the cursed man's chest, causing the cursed man's entire chest to explode in a bloody but incredible display of raw strength from the Zenin. The cursed corpse fell. And Itadori, who looked badly damaged but still conscious, looked at it. Wait, why doesn't it disappear? He asked, looking at the supposed curse. Naruto looked at this with doubt. Clearly she had been exorcised, but why didn't she vanish? Unless sighing in exhaustion, Naruto began to walk towards where Nobara was. It's not a curse. So he's a warlock? He thought as Yuji followed him. Zenin. That thing isn't gone yet. We can't leave it unexorcised, she said, reaching for Naruto. The same one who sighed in exhaustion. It wasn't a curse. Apparently they're witches or something, he said seriously. Yuji stopped. Does that mean what? Yes, Naruto confirmed. We killed them, he said, seemingly without any importance to him. His mind was more focused on the tears shed by the now supposed wizard than on what had actually happened. He cried for his brother. He didn't know why. But that didn't sit well with him, and even though he tried to ignore it, it was still there, bothering him. Back to business. What happened with Megumi and the curse? He asked seriously. Damn? I don't know. When we finished off all the moles, only one jerk remained. Megumi told me to go out and help since there was no need for me to be there, she said calmly, but a little saddened by the knowledge that 2 people had just been killed. Naruto noticed this and sighed. He was about to say something, but Nobara's voice called out to him. Idiots! Come see this! Kujisaki called to the 2 boys. Apparently he's a witch or something similar. Since he has bones and a skull, Nobara said, looking at the other witch. Itadori closed his eyes in regret at this. Not without transfiguration. His ribcage is in alignment with his body, which tells me it wasn't the curse Nanami reported that transformed a human into this, Naruto said seriously. That suggests a curse ritual was probably what gave him this appearance. Or that's the most accurate thing we can say about his cursed appearance, he said, sighing. Nobara, yeah, stop worrying about that. Let's go back to Fushiguro. Remember, there's one of Sukuna's fingers with the curse. Itadori opened his eyes in surprise. That curse on the cocoon had a finger of Sukuna's? That will make it like the curse that almost killed me a while back, he said, worried. But at that moment, Naruto opened his eyes. No. The barrier fell, and apparently Megumi is still alive, he said, sensing the black-haired boy's cursed energy, where he felt the densest cursed energy he'd ever felt. Ryaman Sukuna's cursed energy. Chapter 12. Naruto, Yuji, and Nobara could be seen walking back toward the bridge where Fushiguro was supposed to be waiting for them. Naruto and Nobara walked calmly back, while Yuji seemed thoughtful. Too much for himself, which slightly worried Nobara, who asked the reason. What's wrong with you? She asked, looking at the boy. Yuji, this is the first time they've killed instead of exorcising? He asked sadly. Both Naruto and Nobara thought for a moment. Yes, Naruto said, and Nobara agreed. As you say, did you do it too? The blonde asked. Yuji, yes. Once, not really, it was 3 times, he said with apparent sadness. Nobara, you seem more upset than we did even when you did it before, she said doubtfully, looking at the salmon-haired boy. Yuji gave a sad smile as he recalled that occasion. I'm a sorcerer to protect people. I never thought I'd end up taking some lives, he said with a sad tone in his voice, but with a nervous smile on his face. Nobara, well, I see it as a team perk. I mean, we can't always save everyone. Don't you agree, Rubio? The girl asked calmly, looking at Naruto, who didn't seem to hear her. Hey, idiot, react, she said, looking at Naruto. The blonde man snapped out of it and looked at the girl next to him. Yes, I agree, Nobara, he said, smiling a fake smile that Nobara instantly recognized, having seen that smile before. What are you thinking about? I can't read minds like you, but I can tell you're not quite into yourself. Did killing affect you that much? Naruto smiled. No. Even though I've never killed, I've sacrificed people for the mission. What's got me like this is, he was crying. Nobara looked at him with doubt about that part. He cried seeing his brother's death. I really felt some sadness for them. I don't like destroying such a family bond, especially since my brother and I never had that relationship, he said, frowning at the memory of his older brother. One of the people he hated most right now, only his father ranked first on his list of people he hated. Nobara understood the blonde's words. Well, look on the bright side. At least you still have a heart, she said amusedly, drawing a smile from Naruto. Yes. At least we checked that, hee. Yuji watched the 2 boys' interaction and smiled. At least they weren't as affected as he was. We should go back to Megumi. Apparently, she won her confrontation with Sukuna's finger-bearing curse. Later. Fushiguro. Nobara and Itadori shouted, looking at the sleeping Fushiguro, who woke up alarmingly upon hearing the scream. What's going on? Yuji, lucky me. I thought you were dead, he said smiling. Naruto approached Megumi and looked at his head, which had a wound that, although it wasn't bleeding from the black-haired man's cursed energy, was still very serious and needed to be attended to by someone. I think it would be best to go to Shoko's as quickly as possible, he said, looking at the wound. Megumi, hearing the blonde behind him, grabbed his head in pain. Don't talk, my head hurts too much. Naruto nodded and walked away from the dark-haired man. Nobara, you shouldn't fall asleep with Sukuna's finger. You might get killed, she said, and Megumi frowned. How do they know about the finger? Naruto, are you worried about that? Megumi sighed tiredly. The curse seemed to be absorbing his properties while we were fighting his Shikigami, he said, looking at the finger in his hand. Yuji smiled at that, then acted like an idiot. Can I eat it? Nobara looked at him in disgust. It's not like it's sushi, she said with a straight face, looking at Itadori. While Megumi looked at the finger seriously. We still don't know how many fingers you can resist. Take it, but don't eat it, he said, passing the finger to Itadori, who was about to take it when a mouth with sharp teeth took it and swallowed the finger. This caused black marks to appear on Yuji's body, who frowned at the taste of the finger. What the hell? I told you not to eat it, said Fushiguro angrily, and his scream angered Itadori just as much. Me, but it was him, he said, pointing to his cheek. Meanwhile, Naruto only had a drop. He didn't say anything because the situation was somewhat strange, but now it was. How will the idiots in high command react when they find out about this? He thought and smiled. Of course, if they find out. The best strategy never fails. If no one but you knows about it, it never happens, right? Brats. A scream made Megumi grab her head in pain, and Nobara, Naruto, and Megumi looked at the bridge where the blonde from before was calling them. Look, it's the executive, Itadori said, looking at the woman. Naruto smiled. I can go to sleep in peace now, he thought, because he'd already gone 2 days into this mission without sleeping. And he'd say it again, it's 1,000 times better to fight curses that have already appeared and cause damage than to search for a curse before it comes out and go days without sleeping trying to find it. Without waiting any longer, Naruto placed Megumi on his shoulder and smiled. Back home, now we'll go to sleep until there's no more sleep, he shouted happily, disappearing in a yellow flash and reappearing on the executive's left side. Nobara and Yuji watched the highest-ranking sorcerer's actions with tears in their eyes. He must be sleepy, using his technique to walk a few meters, Itadori said, a drop of sweat on his temple. With that, Nobara and Yuji also reached the car and got in. They all returned to Tokyo, so that, without any apparent importance, the 4 of them walked like zombies to the door of the school dorms. Megumi and Yuji entered their respective rooms while Naruto, who was in front of his room, searched for his key all over his body, until he opened his eyes in surprise when he noticed that they were not there. Are you serious? He said angrily. Until an idea struck him. Heading to the 4th door to the left of his own, Naruto knocked, and it opened a few seconds later. What do you mean, idiot? Nobara asked, looking at the blonde man who had scratched his head in embarrassment. I might drop my key somewhere during the mission. Let me sleep here. I'm so sleepy I couldn't possibly go find the resection answer key. Nobara looked at him with a seriously look. Sighing. The girl nodded. Fine, just don't move. The girl didn't finish until Naruto was already asleep in his bed. With a drop of sweat, he lay down next to the Zenin and closed his eyes to sleep. Idiot. I whisper and smile, falling asleep just the same. At that moment, Kurama appeared in shadows on Naruto's face, and he lay down to sleep, sleepy as he was. Naruto let the weight on his face pass and continued with his nap.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.